aware, at this point in time, there have been some delays on getting the budgets pulled together, so we're going to split town meeting into two phases. The first phase tonight is going to deal with all of the non-financial articles, and all of the financial articles will be postponed, deferred until June 15th. So that's how this is going to play out. So if anybody was all ready to go and looking forward to a discussion about an override vote, that ain't going to be tonight. So that's going to be happening in June. So that being said, we still have plenty to do. We've got about 30 articles to deal with in the non-financial end of things. So look forward to getting to business after a few opening ceremonies and get the town's business done. So return of service by town clerk. We're all good? Maurice?
Yes.
Yes. Emergency exits. It's good to get an idea of where the emergency exits are in case you need to leave unexpectedly. It may not be the doors through which you came. Obviously in the front and the back, we have emergency exits in both of those locations. So just be mindful of that. Can everybody hear me okay? I sound really loud up here, so should I turn it down a little? I can push it away a little. So the non-residents are, Maurice, where do we have non-residents sitting now, do you know?
Over here, in the back, in the
Right over
corner.
there. So it says visitor seating is over there. So just to introduce myself, I'm Jim Fitzgerald. I'm your town moderator. Next to me is, coming in at the last minute, Grayson Pelletier, who's my assistant moderator and keeper of the clock. Bob Galvin, who's town council, and then Maurice, who's Maurice Casper, who's the town clerk. The Board of Selectmen, town treasurer, town administrator, and town accountant are down this table, and the table in the front is the advisory board. So that's everybody that's up at the front of the room. The advisory board will be giving opinion on each of the articles that comes up, and the selectmen will be addressing many of the articles that comes through their office. There's a point of personal privilege that we have at the beginning of each of these annual town meetings, and that's with Andrew Stewart, our town building inspector. I thought I saw Andrew here someplace. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is Andrew Stewart. I'm the building commissioner and floodplain administrator for the town of Marshfield. Marshfield has a significant number of properties located in or near flood zones and is a member of FEMA's National Flood Insurance Program and the Community Rating System, or CRS. My role as floodplain administrator is to ensure that all development activity occurring in flood zones is properly permitted by all necessary local, state, and federal agencies and is performed in accordance with those permits and with the National Flood Insurance Program. In Marshfield, we've created a committee that works to improve our CRS rating, creates a plan for public information, and works to review and update the town's multi-hazard mitigation plan. This work, coupled with the flood-related codes and bylaws we've adopted, ensures our ability to apply for and acquire a wide array of state and federal grants. The higher regulatory standards we have adopted to help protect our properties, investments, and infrastructure helps us to increase our CRS rating, earning our residents discounts on federal flood insurance policies, and ensures access to disaster recovery efforts and relief funding. With a current class rating of 7, Marshfield has earned a 15% discount on federal flood insurance policies for residents in flood zones and for residents outside of flood zones. The town has worked hard to improve Marshfield to a class 6 community, which would increase the discount to 20%, and we expect that class change once the federal government resumes fully funding the Department of Homeland Security and FEMA. The CRS committee is dedicated to the task of encouraging all residents to purchase flood insurance, to lower our flood insurance rates, to inform residents about flood zone requirements and flood hazards, and to ensure the safety of our residents, buildings, and infrastructure from damage from flooding through the application of our building, wetlands, and zoning regulations. If you would like to schedule a free property protection site visit or would like more information on permitting, flood zones, flood hazards, or flood insurance, please visit the Town of Marshfield website at the CRS committee or contact me, Andrew Stewart, at the building department. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. At this time, I'm calling on the police and fire departments to present the colors. Thank you. For our Pledge of Allegiance today, we have a Gold Star spouse to present. Mrs. Barbara Rugg has been a resident of Marshfield for over 24 years. Barbie is a surviving spouse of a Vietnam veteran, U.S. Army Sergeant Paul Rugg. She is a respected member of Marshfield senior community, recognized for establishing the Social Day Club at the Marshfield Council on Aging, a program designed to support adults experiencing early stages of dementia. In addition, Barbie is a founding member of the Marshfield Poppies, a local organization dedicated to supporting the spouses of veterans. We welcome her this evening to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance as she represents all of those spouses and families of those who serve. At this time, please raise your hand over your heart and join Barbie in reciting our nation's pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
One of our Marshall High School Marshallers, Kylie, is going to lead us in the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets were clear, the bells bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
That was a little more special because she was supposed to have other people helping her, and then she ended up having to do it all by herself, and she did a great job. Maybe a little more housekeeping business. Show of hands, how many of you are familiar with Open Town Meeting? How many newbies do we have? Not too many this time, but welcome. This is a purest form of democracy. You get a chance to actually have your vote counted right in front of you. It's a great way to share your community with the fellow voters in town. If you can at this point in time, please shut off your cell phones. It's not a great move to have somebody's phone blaring out respect in the middle of a discussion, so it would be nice to do. All discussion happens from a microphone, so you need to get into, there's 2 microphones in the middle there. You need to get in line. I will call you in the order that you got up to the microphone to the best of my ability. I can't say that I get that 100% all the time, but I might call like the front microphone 3 times in a row because 3 people got up before somebody got up to the back microphone. All the discussion goes through me, so you do not have a discussion directly with your presenters. You can go through the moderator, ask a question. I will then ask the presenter to give you an answer to that question. Voting is by a show of hands, after which I will declare the vote. The decision can be questioned, my decision can be questioned, if 7 voters rise after the vote and then a standing vote as outlined in the Marshfield Smart Rules will take place. And what will happen then is 7 people question my decision-making on a show of hands, then we'll go to a standing vote. There are going to be tellers in each section that will count your vote. We'll go through the ayes and the nays, count them, tabulate them, and then we'll get a real sense of what the room is as far as votes go. We do have some non-registered folks, non-registered voters in town that are in the room. There's the visitor seating up to my right-hand side over there, your left. There are also some department heads and department personnel that typically sit on the floor with their boards. I'm going to read their names and call for a vote to allow them to remain on the floor. The first is Carol Hamilton from the COA, Michael Steele from Conservation, Matt Kinlan from the DPW, Mike DeMeo, the Harbor Master, Jane McGillis, IT, Cindy Marcoux, the Library, Meg LeMay, Town Accountant, Craig Jamison, Recreation, Karen Paulette, Veterans, Peter Moran, our Town Administrator, and Melissa Morrissey, the Treasurer Collector. All those in favor of allowing those folks to stay on the floor, please raise your hand. All opposed? I declare that that passes. I'm going to call out the list of tellers that we have. They're the ones who will be counting your vote. When I call your name, please rise so that people know who you are. In Section 1, Anne Marie Sacchetti, who's right there. Jeb Deloche for Section 2, over there. Kevin Robinson, Section 3, in the back. Section 4 is Andy Wenning, in the back. Section 5, Barbara Carney in the bleachers on the left side. Section 6 is Cindy Castro in the bleachers on the right side. Section 7 is Lauren Hughes, bleachers in the back on the right side. Section 8 is Terry Wenning, bleachers in the back on the left side. And the front tables is going to be Nerese Casper, right there. I'm going to forego reading all the moderator's rules. They're in the front of your warrant. I'll highlight Rules 7, 9, 11, and 14 as being ones that we use fairly frequently. Also, there's a rule of moving the question. So the way moving the question works is you have to be at a microphone. You can't shout it out from the floor. But if somebody says they want to move the question, that means that they feel that there's been enough discussion and they want to go and just have a vote on the question. If I accept their motion for moving the question, then we just go to a vote. So there's no further discussion at that point in time. It does come up every so often in a meeting that somebody will move the question and I will accept it. So just everybody's aware of that. This is a little bit of an unusual town meeting where we're separating the financial articles away from the non-financial articles. I've got to think that somewhere along the way I'm going to trip up somewhere and do the wrong thing, so please bear with us as we're figuring this out as we go along, but I think we have it pretty well in hand. So there's some action items on some of the articles, and they're up on your screen overhead. So there are articles that are being deferred to the 15th. So it's all the budget articles. It's number 2 in the special town meeting and number 2 to 7 in the annual town meeting. All of those articles are going to be deferred until June 15th. There are articles that are going to be indefinitely postponed, and these, the first 2 are contractual articles dealing with police, fire, DPW contracts. They're not in a position to be voted on, and that would be special town meeting number 3, annual town meeting 18 to 21. Article 29, which is a planning board PMUD, the planning board has determined they want to do a little more research on that, so they are going to be indefinitely postponing that article. And annual town meeting number 33 with the Board of Public Works, which is the stormwater article, is going to be indefinitely postponed, so we will not be taking votes on those articles. And then there are 2 sets of linked articles, annual town meeting number 27, I think it's 27 and 28, that's a mistype on that. Articles 27 and 28 are the planning board ADU articles. We'll talk about those at the same time. And annual town meeting 37 and 38 was the MBTA zoning article. Those will be linked as well. So at this point in time, I'm going to move that we adjourn the special town meeting and go adjourn the annual town meeting and go to the special town meeting to return to the annual town meeting. So we are going to pick up the special town meeting first, and we're talking about Article 1. Article 1, the Select Board moves that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $717,428.90 to pay unpaid bills from prior fiscal years as set forth in the chart under Article 1 of the April 27, 2026 special town meeting warrant, and to meet this appropriation, transfer the sums of money from the funding sources listed on said chart. Now, as you notice, we were not doing financial articles today, but this is money from 2026. This is money that already exists in the account, and it's paying old bills. So that's why this is on the warrant right now. Mr. Moran from the Select Board.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Peter Moran, Interim Town Administrator. I'm going to speak to number 24 on this list of Article 1, primarily because it makes up the majority of the funds sought in this article. This is a series of bills from the Massachusetts Unemployment Assistance Liability. This dates back to prior to 2020. The town had not been paying its assessment on unemployment to the state that was owed since then. Became aware of that in June of 2025. We cross-checked to make sure that the charges against the town were accurate. We worked with our legislative representatives with the state to see if we could somehow reduce this payment. Despite their best efforts, we were unsuccessful. But this amount is necessary to clear a bill that had not been paid for over 6 years. I don't have an explanation for why it wasn't paid, but it is well documented that it is owed and needs to be paid. Thank you.
The Advisory Board, Mr. Rowland, I believe.
Chris Rowland, Marshfield Advisory Board. Article 1 seeks authorization to pay outstanding bills from prior fiscal years. Towns cannot use current appropriations to pay prior year obligations, making this vote necessary. The Advisory Board reviewed the list and the total with notable portion tied to unemployment liabilities. We understand that efforts are underway to validate and, where possible, reduce these claims. We also recognize improved oversight by the town accountant in the ongoing account reconciliation, achieved through communication with department heads and adherence to best practices. And we all witnessed, budget forecasting has become more disciplined, reducing reliance on one-time funding sources such as free cash. This represents a more transparent approach to financial management. While this payment is not ideal, it is responsible fiscal housekeeping, and the advisory board fully supports this article.
Okay, thank you. Word on the quantum of votes. Many votes are just majority votes. Majority wins the day. There are votes where we require a 2/3 vote, planning board articles, bylaw changes, and then there is this article which requires a 9/10 vote. So this is about the only one you're going to find in a warrant anytime that requires that, but this is a 9/10 vote. So looking for a discussion from the floor. Seeing none, I'll go to, oh, there is one. Hang on just a second.
Am I on?
Name and address again, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Bonnie McCarthy, 83 Donald Road. I just don't feel it's prudent to go right to a vote on this unless there's a little bit more discussion. This is a major oversight that a town isn't paying their unemployment. There must have been a bill, and I feel like there should be someone from the administration who can give us a little idea as to how this happened, because if we don't find out how this happened 6 years ago, what if it happens again? I just don't really think we should accept that no one knows why. So if anyone could, Mr. Moderator, I feel
Mr.
like you
Moore?
should pry a little bit more on this.
Mr. Moore, can you give any info?
I don't have I know that it wasn't paid. It is well documented that it was not paid. And it was not paid over a number of years. I don't know what the explanation was for it not being paid. During COVID, there were questions and there were numerous attempts to defraud communities with fraudulent unemployment claims. We have identified those which we thought were inaccurate and removed those from the payments. But what I did notice when I came here as interim town administrator, that no appropriation had been made in previous years for the unemployment line item. And so when I did get here and made the corrections to the budget in in June of 2025, I included an appropriation to the unemployment line. And that was used to make current payments and to stave off the additional interest and principal. What we are doing so that this doesn't happen again is adopting practices to ensure that the invoices are received in the accounting department. They are reviewed there. They are reviewed for accuracy between HR and the school department. So the likelihood of this happening again is very low.
Rear microphone.
Anne-Marie Sinnott, Sinnott's Lane. So in the past, where were those invoices being sent to? What department was receiving those?
I believe they went to the treasure collector.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further question, we'll go to a vote. Again, this is a 9/10 vote. All those in favor of special town meeting Article 1, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that passes by 9/10. So we're passing over Article 2 because that's going to get deferred until June 15th. Article 3 is being indefinitely postponed by the selectmen, so we're on to Article 4. The school committee moves that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $153,245.21 to pay accrued sick leave buyout for the school department June 2026 retirees, and to meet this appropriation, transfer said sum of money from the town's compensated absence funds, said funds expended under the direction of the school superintendent and the general supervision of the school committee. And this is being presented by Tom Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Tom Miller, Ames Way, Assistant Superintendent of Business Finance for the schools. This is simply this is a compensated balance fund that has been in the town, has been a town and school fund for many, many years. The last time it was funded was in 2016. It was $200,000 set forth at town meeting. This is for individuals in the school department that are confirmed June retirees this year.
Okay. Advisory Board, Scott Swain and Ed Dubois.
Scott Swain, Advisory Board. Article 4, request the use of funds.
Speak in the microphone. We can't hear you.
Scott Swain, Advisory Board. Article 4 requests the use of funds from the compensated absence funds for retiree obligations. This fund already contains sufficient balances and does not require new taxpayer funding. The recent aligns directly with the intended purpose of the fund. The Advisory Board reviewed the balance and obligations and found them appropriate. This ensures commitments to employees are met responsibly. It also avoids future budget strain by addressing liabilities now. There's no impact to the general fund. This is a clean and contained financial action, and the Advisory Board fully supports this article.
Okay. Discussion from the floor. This is going to be a majority vote. Seeing none, I'll call for a vote on Article 4. All those in favor of Article 4, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that Article 4 passes. On to Article 5. The Planning Board moves that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $14,400 to rebuild the town's ARCGIS online web application, and to install and to reconfigure the new GIS server. And to meet this appropriation, transfer said sum of money from free cash and said sums expended under the direction of the town planner and the general supervision of the planning board and the town administrator. Karen Horn, present.
Karen Horn, 36 Phillips Farm Road. I'm the town planner. The ArcGIS system is an online system for the public and for staff. Many of you may have used it to look up your floodplain information. The system we have right now was brought online in 2019. It's with outdated software. It causes display problems. We're not able to update with new information. So this is a one-time upgrade that will rebuild the system and allow for greater flexibility and to assist the staff and the public.
Okay, thank you. Advisory Board, Vin Falacara and Scott Swain.
The Advisory Board recommends approval of this article. Sorry, Vin Falacara, Holly Road.
Okay, thank you. This is a majority vote. Discussion from the floor. Seeing none, I'll go to a vote. All those in favor of Article 5, please raise your hand. All opposed? Declare that Article 5 passes. And Article 6 is a citizen's petition article.
Hi, everyone.
Just, excuse me,
Sorry.
you're not yet ready yet. This is a citizen's petition article that's being moved by Brian Fleming. It's being moved to set forth in the April 27, 2026 special town meeting warrant. And it's authorizing submission of special act legislation to transition to a 5-member board of selectmen. At this point in time, Brian, thank you.
Mr. Moderator, just a quick question. Is this remote to change slides? Yes. Okay. Thank you, sir.
There you go.
Okay. Brian Fleming, Jedediah's Path. It's a little terrifying to speak to all of you today about Article 6, a citizen's petition to expand our select board from 3 members to 5. Next slide. There we go. I want to first start by saying that this article is not an attack on any current or former select board member. This proposal is not political, it is structural. I got involved in local politics last year by accident when a friend of mine ran for city council in Fremont, Ohio, and I spent a weekend knocking on doors for her campaign. Her city of 15,000 people has a 7-member city council. When I got home, I started looking into Marshfield's town government, and I found that Marshfield, make sure I'm going the right way, Marshfield is the largest town in the area with more than 25,000 residents, and yet we're the only community still operating with a small 3-member select board. And this fact kind of surprised me, so I made a simple Excel spreadsheet that compared our town to other towns around us. As you can see, Marshfield is roughly 20% larger than our next largest neighboring towns of Situate and Pembroke. And even towns with populations less than half our size, like Norwell and Cohasset, have 5-member boards. And that brings me to the next issue, understanding exactly how our current government structure is kind of failing us. So this is kind of essentially what our select board looks like now. 3 people trying to manage an almost impossible workload, tackling problems that have been building up for years and years. So why does the current size of our select board matter? I'm going to talk about something called open meeting laws. These laws exist to make sure that government conduct happens in public view. These laws mean that our 3-member select board cannot communicate with each other in any way about town business outside of posted public meeting. They can't email, they can't text, they can't even talk to each other. Let that sink in. The people responsible for responding to issues, solving problems, and overseeing the executive function of Marshfield are legally prohibited from communicating with each other except during their bi-weekly in-person meetings every other Monday night. Does that seem like a reasonable window of time to discuss problems? I also want to point out that our select board's one of their biggest responsibilities is appointing and overseeing more than 30 boards and committees across town. These groups do vital work, planning, zoning, recreation and conservation, and much more. But expecting 3 people part-time to provide meaningful oversight to more than 30 committees is a recipe for burnout. So what would happen if we moved to a 5-member select board? Well, the bad news is it's not going to fix everything. We're still going to have some huge challenges. I don't want to pretend that adding 2 people is going to solve everything, but it might make a very difficult job a little bit easier. With a 5-member board, one communication is legal again. That's key. Open meeting laws would still apply, and they should, and they still prohibit private discussions among more than 2 members, and they still require transparency for any decisions. But this change would allow one member to email or talk to another member without breaking the law. It simply restores the ability for our elected leaders to communicate like normal human beings. And that matters, because 5 members can respond to urgent issues as they arise. If something comes up on a Tuesday after a board meeting, they can start talking about it on Tuesday, and not have to wait until the next posted open meeting just to begin a conversation. A 5-person board also opens the door to more civic participation. Our select board should reflect the full range of backgrounds, neighborhoods, and viewpoints that make up Marshfield. Finally, a 5-member board provides stronger oversight of town government. More people on the select board means more eyes looking at the decisions being made, more accountability. Now I need to acknowledge the elephant in the room. Marshfield is facing a significant budget deficit, and here I am arrogantly suggesting that we add 2 more people to the town's payroll. So how much is this going to cost? Select board members earn $1,094 per year for hundreds of hours of work. That means adding 2 people to the board is one of the most cost-effective ways to expand our town's capacity for functioning. For around $200 a month, we can almost double the number of people working to address the challenges we're facing. Last slide. I'm asking the people of Marshfield to recognize something that has become increasingly clear over the past few months. Our current town government structure isn't working. The job of serving on the select board for a town of Marshfield's size and complexity has simply become too much for any 3 individuals to manage, no matter how dedicated or skilled they are.
You get 20 seconds to wrap up.
A yes vote today on Article 6 can change that. By adding 2 more members, we can create a select board that with more communication and more capacity. Marshfield has grown, and it's time for our select board to grow with it. I respectfully ask that you to vote yes on Article 6. And any questions? Thank you.
Right on time. It's hard to do when you've got a petition article and somebody that doesn't do this regularly. It's good to hit the number right on the button. It's tough. I mean, I appreciate it. Advisory Board, Vin Falacara and Peter Simonelli.
Vin Falacara, Holly Road. So it's difficult to add anything to Mr. Fleming's presentation. I just want to emphasize we are about to undergo a very difficult time in Marshfield, and having 5 people on the select board would be a great improvement, I think, from where we are now. So the advisory board considered Mr. Fleming's presentation. We heard it, I believe, twice. Now this is the 3rd time, and it still rings true with us. We voted unanimously to support this.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. This is going to be a majority vote. Discussion from the floor. Gentleman at the back microphone. Oh, front microphone. You were there first.
Eric Kelly, Peterson Path, Select Board Chair. I am not in favor of this, just let everybody know. All right, hold on. So the budget deficit, I know, weighs heavily on everybody's mind, and I understand that. You know, we had 2 people in here, Peter Moran and Charlie Sumner, doing their best they can with the budget. They were both sharing hours. My look at it is that hopefully coming up soon that we will get a full-time town administrator and guide us through this. The other thing is we have an advisory board, past and present, that I think has done a great job for us and will continue to do a good job for the select board in regards to these budget issues. And we also have great staff amongst us, as our town treasurer and town accountant, as well as human resources. The biggest issue, in my opinion, is that it's the open meeting laws. And I think what needs to be done for the board to act effectively is that needs to be changed. The board members, regardless of 3 or 5, need to be able to communicate, or at least have the chair communicate to each board member. And that's the biggest problem right now with town government, is that the lack of being able to communicate with each other. And that's why we're in the situation to a degree that we are right now. So I just want to let everybody know that I think 3 members is fine, just due to the fact that the Cannabis Commission at the state level, the legislature changed it from a 5-member board to a 3-member board. And obviously, they feel that themselves that a 3-member works better. And I believe that right now, with the current situation with our town, the 3-member board will work with all the right pieces in place. Thank you.
Okay. Rear microphone.
Mr. Moderator, Don Gibson, 815 Union Street. In 2017 and 2018, I served as the vice chairman of the last Charter Review Committee. We studied this issue for 2 years, and one of the key recommendations we made at that time was to go from a select board of 3 members to a select board of 5 members. We also conducted a town-wide survey at that time, and with respect to the people who responded, 61% of the people who responded were in favor of a 5-member board. It was a good idea then. Unfortunately, it wasn't voted along with the other recommendations that we made, but it was a good idea then. It's a good idea now, and I wholeheartedly endorse it, and I urge this meeting to adopt it. Thank you.
No round of applause, it just slows things down.
Paul DeCristofaro, 9 George Street. I have 2 questions. Assuming if this was voted tonight, what are the next steps involved and how long would that take?
I think, sorry. Sorry, I wanted to make sure that was right. I'm not 100% sure because I'm entirely new to town government, but I think it goes to the select board to vote. I think it comes, we present it to the legislature of the state of Massachusetts, and then they would, I'm assuming, approve it, and because we are a giant town and one of the very largest with a 3-member board, and the governor would sign off on it, and then I think it comes back to us to vote on one final time. So it's just kind of a step 1 of a process. Ideally, I know Duxbury, when they did this, they were able to do it during COVID. They accomplished it in under a year, so we might be looking at having a five-member board as soon as next year potentially, which is kind of a good thing with all the problems we're facing, I think. But again, that's up to the town. I hope, everyone, I think we have enough people in this town to fill a five-member board. I think we have a lot of people who want to serve, and I think, a five-member board gives more people a chance to serve. It's intimidating to serve on a three-member board because it's a lot of responsibility and it's a little scary. But a five-member board, maybe more people throw their hats in the ring and become engaged.
So several months, maybe a year.
Yes, maybe even more than a year.
And the other question is,
Yes, sir.
Regardless of the vote tonight, is it the final say of the select board to move forward?
I believe it might be. I don't understand about the tie situation.
The process is, if this were to pass this evening, then the Board of Selectmen would be asked to go and forward that vote to the legislature for a ruling on a home rule petition. So it's got to go from here for town meeting to the Board of Selectmen. The board has to go send it off to the state. The state has to then rule on the application.
So the select board has final say? They need a majority vote?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Lynch.
Steve Lynch, 50 Central Street. A three-member select board is too many. Five, we're going to be really kicking the can down the road. We have outgrown town meeting and selectmen. This town has way too many people to have 500 people that are in this room deciding a $120 million budget for 30,000 people. Most people have their roots in Boston. We should have a mayor and we should have city councilors, and then one person's responsible, not five people trying to come up with something and making it procrastinate forever. Then if you don't like the way he runs the town, in 4 years, you vote him out. And people who have to work for a living, who have children to take care of, who are in nursing homes, or old people who can't come to this meeting tonight will be able to have their voice heard. It's ridiculous to go on with town meeting like this, where a small group of people decide everything. I've been coming to town meeting for 50 years, and I've hardly ever seen any spending article that this group of people hasn't passed, and that can't go on like that. It's ridiculous. So we need to go to a mayoral system and city councilors. Thank you.
Okay. Again, please hold on to your applause. Rear microphone, Ms. Casper, or Ms. Sullivan.
Ms. Sullivan.
I'm not sure who's first.
Kathy Sullivan, 112 Plymouth Avenue. Last summer, there was a 2-month delay by the Board of Selectmen in putting people on the various committees. There's approximately 30 committees in this town that run various parts of the government. If we had 5 members on the Board of Selectmen, there would be fewer committees for the selectmen to supervise, and I think it would be much more efficient. Some of the selectmen would know some of the committees, and other selectmen would know more about the other committees. I urge you to pass this. It's going to be a while before we could implement it, but every step forward would help. Thank you.
Ms. Casper.
Nerese Casper. Sorry. Nerese Casper, 23 Saginaw Avenue. I'm speaking for myself. I actually believe in the 5-member select board. I actually spoke in favor of that 10 years ago when we had a charter review committee. It really didn't go anywhere. My opinion is that it would be best if we had at least 2 people that were able to discuss with one another what they were talking about in committees, or subcommittees actually of our select board. That would allow us to have at least 2 people in our larger departments like the DPW, where we spend a majority of our money, or at the school department. People with varying ideas, people with varying interests, people with varying personal backgrounds who can bring things to the table and can discuss things more fully instead of just one-on-one discussions with department heads. This way, we get a broader view of what's going on in our town. We get more information for us and more information for them. More information to better spend our money and better build our town. So I personally prefer to have 5 selectmen. I'd actually like to have 7 and have them spend more time in all of our communities so that they know what we do in North Marshfield, what we do in my neck of the woods, and everybody has a little taste of what's going on and everybody talks to everybody else, because I really believe that our forefathers thought that we would have a better idea of what everybody thinks, and I don't think that we have that right now. Thank you.
Mr. Sullivan.
Yes, Pat Sullivan, Hagar Drive. I just have a simple question, perhaps, for Town Council about voting. I know that to get an override on a ballot, the current Select Board has to have a 2/3 majority. What is it if you have 5 members? Do you need a super majority? Like I was told that, which would mean that 4 members would have to vote it through to get it.
Majority.
It's just a majority, not a super majority, not a 4?
Yep.
Okay. All right, that was my question. I had heard differently. All right, super, thank you.
Rear microphone.
John Kramer, 22 Rayfield Road. I say we should have, it's ready for 5, and we're ready to have it all changed, so it'd be easy for the committees to talk with us, and we can talk to them, and it's a better way of having communication altogether. Thank you.
Okay.
Peg
We're going
Davis.
to take these last 2, and then we're going to go to a vote.
Peg Davis, 87 New Street, Marshfield. Just looking at the numbers, 27,000 people in town, represented by 3 people. It's just not working. We need more representation of different parts of town, different viewpoints in town, different skills. And I think this is an opportune time to make this change, and I really hope that the selectmen will support it, because we're not working the way we are. We need to do better. And we have a big crisis on our plate. This is the time to pull in more heads, more brains, more thoughts, and more talents. So please support this.
Mr. Schrader, I'll get to you last.
Thank you.
Steve Lukatis, 184 Elm Street. Just 2 questions. One is, I did clarification. If we vote in favor of this tonight, you said it goes to the Select Board next. Now, does the Select Board, being 2 people at this point, do they have a choice as to whether to make this happen, or is it mandatory that they just have to do what the town says and then present it to the state, and in what kind of timeline?
Well, town meeting can never compel the Select Board to do anything. The Select Board makes their own decisions, and they make their own votes. So that's a standard thing that happens. So if both of the current members vote to push it forward, then it goes forward. If it's a 1-to-1 vote, then it wouldn't push forward.
Okay. My other question is, and I'm sort of in favor of this happening. My next question, though, is just as it's been brought up, if we went to a mayor and town council format, just in a short description, what would that?
It's beyond the scope of this article. I don't have that information.
Okay, I
of
just
we
wondered
would
what
have
that
to switch.
process would be.
I know where you're going towards. Is what's the process?
Yeah.
I have no idea what the process is, and it's really beyond the scope of this article to discuss it at this point.
I just sort of wondered if a 5-member board is better at making that happen than a 2-member board, or a 3-member board. All right. So, as we heard the groan in the background, if it goes 1-to-1 with only 2 select board members at this moment, what's the next? Is there another step? Is there any recourse? I don't know if that's a question for our town council.
Yeah, as town council says, it's dead on arrival. If it's a 1-to-1 vote, if one's in favor, one's not in favor, then it's a no vote, and then it doesn't go anywhere. Mr. Schran.
Joe Schran, 675 Summer Street. So I just want to reiterate to our select board that I think you've heard from the town at least the people in this room, what the hope is that we expand the select board from 3 to 5. And I do hope that our select board can take that into consideration and put aside your own personal feelings, which I appreciate you sharing. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I keep on saying I got the last person. I'm going to Mr. Wolf in the back and in the front, and then we are done for nobody. We're not going to talk about this anymore.
Mr. Moderator, I think this is more a point of order than talking to the question. I request that we have a standing vote so that the selectmen are fully informed about the perspective and the voting positions of town meeting when they consider the next step on this article.
I'll accept that. I mean, I'm kind of curious as to how many people are here.
Lizanne Road, 64 Sheridan Drive. Just curious, would the terms still remain 3 years?
Usually what you have is 2 for 3. You've got 2, 2, and 1 in
2, 2,
three-year
and 1.
terms.
Yeah, I can answer it.
Okay.
They all become 3-year terms.
They all become 3-year terms? Okay. So they don't become 5?
No.
No. You want to answer? Essentially you would have an election where 3 people run, 2 people run for 3-year terms, 1 person runs for a 2-year term, I think is what they did in Duxbury.
Okay. So
that's it.
I'm kind of interested to see how many people are here. So we're going to go to a standing vote.
511. 511.
We'll find out when you're done. So, all those in favor of Article 6 of the special town meeting, please rise. Again, you're going to be counted by the tellers that we talked about earlier. They're going to count you and tell you to sit down. Huh?
Sorry, yes.
Brian, you probably want to go to your section so you
Yes.
You can sit, Mr. Fleming. You're welcome to sit. You don't have to stay up there. Oh, that's a good point. Good point.
Hey, Scott, were you ready to talk about GIS? You called your name and mine. It was supposed to be Seminary.
Maurice, I need another row on the spreadsheet. It's only got 8. It's only got 8 rows on the spreadsheet. We need another one. Anne Marie Sacchetti, right behind you. Anne Marie, have you counted this whole section? You're going all the way to the front. We all counted now?
Okay.
All good?
Yep.
Section 1. 41. Section 2. Section 2 is right there. If you counted, Nerese, that's going to be part of the front. Okay. $62. 41 was her number. So we've got 62 in section 1. Yep, so 62. Section 2. 71. Section 3. 96. Section 4. 90. There's more people here than I thought. Section 5. 62. Section 6. 13. 38. That's why I say it, so I can get corrected. Section 7. 0. That was the back bleachers right, so that's a 0. Section 8. 50, 50. 50 in the front. Nerese? 14. So 483 ayes. So all those opposed, please rise. We all counted? Okay, section 1. 3. Section 2. 1. Section 3. 6. Section 4. 10. Section 5. 8. Section 6. 1. Section 7 should still be 0. Section, there's nobody over there. Section 8, 0. The front, 2. So I declare that that passes by a majority. And we have 514 people.
She said 511.
So, congratulations, that passes. So I'm going to make, so I'm going to continue the financial article. Article 2 is going to be continued. So we're not closing the special town meeting. We are continuing the balance of the special town meeting until June 15th. Let me get my paperwork in order here. So we're now adjourning the special town meeting, going into the annual. Again, we're going to take up Article 1, and then we're going to skip over 2 through 7, because those will be deferred until June 15th. Article 1, will the town vote to receive reports of the town offices and committees or to take any action relative thereto? And that's from the select board. Any statement from the select board? So, Yeah, it's a pretty routine article. So, advisory board,
Chris Rowland, Advisory Board. This article accepts reports from town officers and committees. It's administrative and routine. There are no financial implications or policy changes. It ensures proper record-keeping acknowledgement. The advisory board reviewed and found no concerns. There is a standard procedure step, and it maintains transparency in reporting. There is no ambiguity in intent. So the advisory board fully supports this article.
okay, this is going to be a majority vote. Discussion from the floor. Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of Article 1, please raise your hand. All opposed? Declare that that passes by a majority. We're into Article 8, which are the revolving funds. The reason these have money tied to them, but the reason that these are still left in this April meeting is because they are basically just determining how these different agencies get to use the funds that they generate themselves. So there's no hit to the budget on these because they are self-funded operations. So Article 8. The Select Board moves that the town vote to amend its general bylaws to establish the Marshfield Airport Revolving Fund as set forth in Article 8 of the April 27, 2026 annual town meeting warrant. A comment from the Select Board? Seeing none, Advisory Board.
Yes, hi, Jan Martin from Preston Terrace. I'd like to just spend a quick minute discussing the concept of revolving funds. Many of you know we already have a few. There is state-recommended practice for programs that provide services and generate their own revenues through fees, et cetera. And they also need their funding to pay for the expenses associated with operating those programs. Your yes vote would create some new funds, but it wouldn't be a significant change to the way that these inflows and outflows are already treated because the finance team and the department's heads have already been effectively segregating these fees and services so that they are codependent. But establishing the accounts is an important financial safeguard. They allow the town to better manage revenue that is being collected from the public. It separates and earmarks the funds so that they are used exclusively to support the services that are being paid for. These funds allow matching of current year revenues with current year operational expenses as opposed to relying only on prior history. This ensures continuity of services for these departments, particularly for services that have become increasingly popular with increased participation because they don't have to wait for the next opportunity to get an appropriation of funds because the amount they expect to need for their growth is already factored in when we set the budget limit for these funds. And we're going to talk about budget limits, but it basically is a limit, but it's not an obligation to actually spend everything. There can be funds left over. So now for the airport, the state law requires the establishment of a revolving fund for town revenues for municipal airports. The law requires that the revenues, which come primarily from the rent of property and the fuel excise taxes, these funds go into the fund and that the expenditures from the fund are for the operations of the leased assets and facilities and equipment. The town had been operating consistently with this law in the past, but never actually established the fund through town meeting. So the advisory board unanimously recommended approving this article.
Okay. Discussion from the floor.
Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road. The revenues that would be going into this airport revolving fund, does that include the lease fees paid by the FBO at the airport?
Yes.
What happens to the lease fees now?
Robert Galvin, Town Council. They're going into a fund that's operating as if it were a revolving fund, but it is not properly a revolving fund.
So are those lease fees just given to the airport commission to vote on, to decide how to expend them, or is some of those lease fees of some benefit to the taxpayers of Marshfield in general?
My understanding is that they're using them as if they were in a revolving fund, but it is not.
That's the understanding of town council.
That
Okay.
is the understanding of town council.
That's the understanding. Well, I'm against this article because we should be making money from the airport. The fixed base operator renting, leasing the airport now is paying a cost that's basically what you would pay for a two-star hotel per day. And that is very valuable real estate, and there's a lot of money that should be coming back to the taxpayers that are bearing the burden of having that operation in town and bearing the burden of the destruction to the environment from that airport expansion and operation. We need to be getting something back for what we're giving away. And to establish a revolving fund is a mistake. We need to be increasing our lease fees and giving that money to the taxpayers for the protection of the environment and for the reduction of our debt. So I urge people to vote no on this. Thank you.
Rear microphone.
Kevin Robinson, 100 Washington Avenue. I have a question on note C, because we own this building and these are our tenants. There's no town of Marshfield employees that work there, correct?
There are no town of Marshfield employees. They employ an airport manager, and that person works for the airport commission, but that person is considered an employee of Shoreline Aviation.
So I understand this may be a blueprint or a template that you use at each one of these, but we shouldn't have wages being paid out of the money that we're getting out of the airport because they don't work for us. They work for a private company that's renting from us. And there's some other words that I'm a little concerned about what's the tenant responsible to pay for and what's the owner responsible to pay for. And I think there's a carte blanche in that section C that allows things that shouldn't be paid by the owner, they should be paid by the tenant.
Is there a question, or?
So my question is, does note C belong in this section? I understand with all the rest of them it does, because we're talking about town employees and town property. But this is a landlord-tenant issue, and I think that note C expands too much, puts too much responsibility on us as the owner, when our tenant should be paying that. So I would ask that C be reviewed and maybe eliminated, because it doesn't apply when we're have a landlord-tenant agreement here.
Robert Galvin, Town Council. At some point, the town might decide to manage it itself, and we may have wages. This is a bylaw. If there's no expense right now, you wouldn't be spending money on wages. But if we decide to shift away from a fixed-based operator and run it ourselves, we may have wages. So my recommendation is leave it in there, and if it needs to be amended at some point in the future, we don't have to do it. I mean, if there's no expense, you're not going to have a wage expense.
If we choose to use that in the future, will we be coming to town meeting to say we want to put somebody who works for the town in charge of that?
Absolutely. We'll be
Okay,
coming
that's
in.
when it should say wages. Just, I'm asking for an opinion.
Front microphone.
Okay, I would
Just name and
ask to
address.
have this,
Name and address first, please.
Priscilla Maglio, 163 Arlington Street. Mr. Moderator, I would ask to have this article tabled until the airport, there is some description of the responsibilities that the airport would have to the town. Because at this point, the airport is on its own. They are doing what they want to do, and we are all experiencing the late night flights coming in and out of the airport, all of the exhaust coming down from the planes that fly extremely low, and the noise that we're putting up with from the airport, and also the direction of the flights that are coming from the airport. There are times when the flights travel from across country, they come into the center of Marshfield, then they travel straight down 139 to the ocean and go up to Logan Airport. Then there are other times when the flights do not do that. They come across the entire city or town of Marshfield. They go up over Snake Hill. They travel very low through Kent Park. I have seen planes skim over the tops of the trees at Kent Park, including the pear tree at the entrance to the parkway for Kent Park. I've seen them almost touch the pear tree and then pull up suddenly because they realize that Snake Hill is there. I don't think that the planes that come from Delta, Southwestern, I've seen all these planes come in very low. I don't think they are traveling responsibly through Marshfield. And previously, there was a motion to change their flight path and allow them to come across and not to go out to the ocean. And someone who worked for the airport at that town voted all to allow them come.
Ms. Maglio, you're out of time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Moderator.
Back microphone.
Cindy Castro, Ashburton Ave. I'm just wondering, I asked at a previous meeting, there's no numbers on these as to what type of revolving account. Are they 53E and a halves? Or not one of them is marked with the type of revolving account that it is. And I know when the Beach Commission came before the town meeting in 1990 or so to get the beach revolving account, we had to state what number revolving account that was. So this is my second attempt to get numbers on these accounts.
This revolving fund would be Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half.
Thank you. All of them?
They'll all be that type of
Thank you.
Front microphone.
Eric Kelly, Peters and Pad. I believe quite a few residents have brought up some concerns in regards to language on this, and I do think it should be reviewed again by the select board, so if people wanted to vote no on it, I think that'd be a wise choice and bring it back to us. Thank you.
Okay. Woman at the back microphone.
Tina Shea, Careswell Street. So the rents that come in are about $58,000. I think we determined that at the last meeting. What are our expenses for the airport? Like, who does the plowing and the maintenance?
It's Shoreline. The airport operator does all the plowing and the expenses.
So we don't have, the town of Marshfield does not have any expenses. We only have the rental income.
The town does own some snowplow equipment, but all of the labor and all of the materials like ice and sand are all airport expenses that are borne by Shoreline Aviation.
Okay, do they rent the equipment from us?
I didn't hear what you said.
Do they rent the equipment from us?
We allow them to use there's only a few pieces of equipment that are town-owned there. We allow them to use that.
Thank you.
Steve Lynch, 50 Central Street. So you're saying that the only cost to the town of Marshfield for operating that airport is we give them a snowplow? Because I don't think so.
Right, yeah, I don't understand your question.
We've gone over this for like 20 years, so let's just get to the point here. If this was a private bus company that was servicing all of the Marshfield residents, that would be one thing to subsidize that corporation. This is not. Few people use it. The people who get all the benefit of this is Shoreline Aviation, who pays a minimal fee to us. This has just gone on too long. This is why we need a mayor who will straighten things like this out. Thank you.
Front microphone.
Yeah, Bob Foltz, 74 Colonial Road. I guess I had a question about how the revolving fund works, because I have concerns about the growth of the airport. If they can incur debt and keep raising the costs to whoever's leasing the airport, there would seem to be no control of the town over growth at the airport. And I think that would be a big mistake. There's no way to plan the town if you don't have some say in how transportation works in the town.
Okay.
So the Marshfield Airport Commission is appointed by the Select Board. It's a 5-member airport commission. So the Select Board has ultimate authority over who serves on the Airport Commission. But once the Airport Commission is appointed, it exists under Chapter 90, Section 51E, and has some independent authority to spend money, to acquire properties, and make decisions in furtherance of the aviation industry. But ultimately, the control rests with the Select Board, who appoints the Airport Commissioners, and the Select Board can exercise control over the Airport Commission by choosing persons that are acting consistently with its policy. And if the Airport Commission were to decide not to renew the lease with Shoreline Aviation, then we could go to a model like the town of Plymouth uses, where they employ an airport manager, an assistant manager, people that plow and service planes and fuel planes, and it's just a different model. But again, ultimately, the Select Board appoints the Airport Commission.
Okay, I just feel like that is too far removed from the decisions about capital expenditures going forward, which basically the entire town, well, at least our precinct would be affected by that. So I think it's too far removed from direct control of the town. I've seen this in other authorities, and it can wreak havoc, and the town pays the expenses. Thank you.
Just to respond to that last question, by state law, it has to be separate and has separate independent authority. And that's not something that the town of Marshfield has. The Airport Commission, once it's appointed, operates consistently with state law, and it has the authority to spend its funds and operate in all the ways that are permissible under Chapter 90, Section 51E through N.
I just think that is, again, too far from control of the people of the town. Planning, maybe the planning department would have to look at that. And maybe the selectmen, when we get a 5-board selectmen, they can take more active look at this and maybe oversight, because you can't keep expanding that place. It'd be crazy. Thank you.
Rear microphone.
Jack Griffin, 89 B Street, Chair of the Capital Budget. I agree with former Speaker Kevin in regards to the salary. The Airport Commission, the Shoreline Aviation is a private company, and I'm sure they have a P&L and they have to report taxes at the end of the year. Now, we're going to support their taxes, their salaries through this. And it just doesn't make sense to me. I think the salary should be diminished. I'm all for the fund itself, but
The salaries aren't supported by this revolving fund.
it's, on C, it says that they can use,
Those would be the salaries if the town took over the operation of the airport. That's giving a provision for the town to pay salaries. It's not paying salaries to the current operator.
I'm not reading it,
We just said
but,
it 2 or 3 speakers ago when we discussed that.
yeah, but it doesn't say it in the paperwork here on the warrant. So if you can say it, but it's not there. So if you pass it, they can actually go and pay their salaries out of it. It's not in there.
So the airport commission doesn't have any employees working at the airport. There's an
Right.
airport manager that's employed by Shoreline,
Right.
who's obligated to manage the airport on behalf of the airport commission.
Correct.
We're not obligated for that person's salary, their
Right, but if you-
benefits, or in any way, shape, or form. And the reason this is worded this way, and I did not draft this was drafted by Charlie Sumner. He drafted it this way because at some point in the future, we may decide to operate the airport differently. And if we do, the word says the airport commission may incur liabilities. It's not intending to incur anything under the current situation. If the airport is managed differently in the future, then it will incur salaries, and then you don't have to amend the bylaw to make it happen.
Yeah, but currently, if this was passed, they could pay salaries through it, and we don't want to do that.
There's I think about 10 years remaining on a lease that requires Shoreline to provide that staff to the airport commission.
I think we should eliminate C because you yourself said you didn't get to review it, and I think it should have a legal review on C.
If you eliminate C, you've nullified the effect of having a revolving fund, which you actually need in order to expend this money.
Well, then-
Otherwise, you'll have to come
Well,
to town meeting for every expense.
Then strike salaries off of it. I would make that recommendation, a motion to strike salaries out.
So we'll take that as an amendment to strike salaries out of that section C. I think it's a pretty straightforward amendment. So
Okay,
is there any
that's it.
discussion on the amendment, or, go ahead.
Jacqueline Little, 343 Ferris Street. I think that the confusion here for a lot of the people is that the airport or Shoreline does not get to access this revolving fund.
Okay.
This revolving fund would only be accessed by the Airport Commission with their recommendations. So we don't have to worry about who is paying wages or to whom, if Shoreline's accessing, because they have no direct access to this account. This is a town account to be used by town-appointed people, not by the airport. And I think if you're looking at it at that point, we don't need to amend it or to change it at all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Further discussion on the amendment?
I think if they're going to be putting salaries, it should be both salaries and wages, if I'd be correct about that.
So I'll take that as a modification to the amendment to strike salaries and wages. It's a legal amendment. We can do that. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Oh, you're going to make me do this, aren't you? Let's try that again. All those in favor? All those opposed? I think we got to go to a standing vote on this because I can't. It's about a 50-50 for my call. So this is on the amendment to strike salaries and wages. So all those in favor of the amendment, please rise.
Okay, you can sit.
think this may be the only time I've ever had a standing vote on an amendment. We all ready for vote for the tally? Section 1. 28. Section 2. Pardon me? 15. Section 3. 38. Section 4. 33. Section 5. 28. Section 6. 11. Section 7. Still nobody sitting there. Section 8. 8. Front. Maurice?
Oh, 3.
3.
Sorry.
So all those opposed, please rise. Aye? Yes? Pardon me? No, section 5 should be 28. That should be 28. We should have 28, 15, 38, 33, 28, 11, 0, 8, and 3. Okay. We good for a count? Section 1. 32. Section 2. 44. Section 3. 41. Section 4. 49. Section 5. 16. Section 6. 21. Section 7, 0. Section 8, 22, front. 7. 11. So I declare that that amendment fails. 164 to 236. So we're back to the original language.
Steve Lukatis, 184 Elm Street. Clarification, whether we pass the revolving fund rule, who sets the, it's been brought up before at other town meetings, who sets the lease fee for this airport, and how long is that lease good for? I don't know how often it gets done. Is it a 20-year thing?
The airport has authority under Chapter 90 to enter a 20-year lease. And it sets the lease fee based on an appraised value of the property as it's leased for airport purposes.
And where are we in that lease at this
I
point?
believe there's approximately 10 years left on a lease.
Back microphone.
Thank you very much. Kathy Creed, 43 Temple Road. Can you please confirm exactly what Aviation Airlines is leasing?
Could you speak up a little bit? I can't quite hear.
Thank you very much. Could you please confirm what Shoreline Aviation is leasing the property for? How much?
We don't know it here. May, do you know what the...
I have that number. Well, FY '25 would have been the last complete year, and last year it was $53,886.
Thank you. And in that lease agreement, how often have we been able to increased that amount over the years? Like, when was the last time the amount was increased?
Let me see if I can find out.
I know there's an annual escalator based on the consumer price index, but I don't remember exactly how much money that translates to every year.
Okay, and my next question is, can you tell us exactly what the Shoreline Aviation is, their worth is in terms of, you know, how much money do they make? What's their,
I don't know, we don't look at their books, we don't know what they make.
well, shouldn't you know?
Shoreline Aviation is a private company that leases the airport, and they don't share their financial data with the town.
Wow. Because it just seems to me that, you know, that would be a great source of revenue for the town, income for the town, and our taxes keep going up, and these people seem like they're making an awful lot of money at the expense of the town payers and the taxpayers, so that's kind of surprising, but thank you.
Rear microphone.
Katie Gensheimer, Tupelo Road. Does the Shoreline Aviation provide us with insurance? If there's like a major accident, plane
Yes.
crash? What is
Yes.
that? How much do they cover us for?
I don't have the policies here, so I couldn't tell you, but they're required to provide insurance for a catastrophe and property and casualty insurance. They rent this property from us and they are obligated to pay that expense.
But we don't know what we get, what we have covered?
If
Because
we could look it up, but I don't have the lease with us today, so I can't give you a specific answer.
is it based on their lease amount?
No,
Because that would be
it's based on
bad.
it's based on the types of calamities that occur at an airport.
Okay, good. All right, thank you.
Mr. Moderator, point of order.
Point of order?
Are we not significantly out of the scope of this article? There's 511 people here, and I'm very confused.
I can't hear what you're saying, I'm sorry.
Aren't we significantly out of scope on this article by now?
We're flirting around that, with setting up a revolving fund, getting into the operations of the airport is really not part of this revolving fund, but it sort of goes hand in hand.
I think we're very confused now.
So I was provided with some information on the financial stuff. They provide the town an airport manager at no cost, at a cost to them of $120,000 per year. They provide an assistant airport manager at a cost to them of $80,000 per year. They provide for the payroll for the persons that manage the airport and sweep the airport, remove snow and ice, of another $140,000 per year. And they've got this all added up to approximately $404,888.
To go to Mr. Cristofaro's statement, we are getting a feel. We're starting, this is creating a revolving fund for the Airport Commission. This is not a referendum on whether or not the airport should or should not be there. And if your discussion is going down that route, I'm just going to cut it off at this point because I think we've been having the same discussion over and over again about whether or not we should be getting more money out of Shoreline, and that's really not the purpose of this article. So if you wanted to address the revolving fund, we can address the revolving fund. If your statement is some critique on the airport or on the lease or any of those other things, we won't be entertaining that. So, and Ms. Magdalene, you've already spoken, you can't speak again. Gentleman at the rear microphone.
David Qualter, 1 Oakleaf Drive. I want to revisit Section C for a moment. I think a previous speaker was making the point that the town could be on the hook for salaries and wages. And in my opinion, rather than striking those words, I think we could insert a word to say that the Airport Commission may incur liabilities against and spend monies for the Airport Services Revolving Fund for town employee salaries and wages. That way it specifies only town employee salaries and wages would be covered by this.
We've already put the wages back in. They didn't get taken out.
Right.
And it's not something that actually impacts Shoreline in this regard. It only comes up should we put in a town operator. So I don't know that we need to do that, honestly. I think that we're overcomplicating things, which have already been overcomplicating things. So I appreciate where you're coming from with it, but I just don't know that that really does anything different than what's already in there.
Fair enough.
Okay. Rear microphone.
Barry Cornwell Hill. Mr. Moderator, a couple of points. Number one, on the budget article, which we're not discussing tonight, there is no line item for the airport or the airport commission. It does not have a town-funded budget. So that's point number one. Point number two is, seeing as we've spent all this time in part on the subject of do we include wages and salaries or do we strike them? Well, that discussion will now have to take place, if we continue this way, with the other revolving accounts that we will be discussing once I get away from your microphone. So this does not make any sense. I dare someone to stand up and move that we remove the words wages, rents, what have you, from all of the other revolving accounts. You'll get laughed out.
Gentleman at the rear microphone.
Martin Cleary, Ellis Avenue, Marshfield. I think we've spent a great deal of time on this article, and we don't have the information at hand that really makes us make a decision on this, especially with the year we have at hand and the expanding budget that we have that we don't have any answers for. I recommend you move this article, you have more knowledge about it, to another town meeting coming up, so you can have some information that would be clarable for us to make a decision on. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Pasevich, you've already spoken.
Point of
You can't
order.
speak again.
Point of order with the motion to table the article because we do not know the impacts of where the money will be
I
used.
would vote the article down if you choose to.
I would motion to
table
table it. I'm not against, I'm not saying this, you're right, it's not whether the airport should exist or not, but there's major questions here about how much the revolving fund will be and how it will be used. The Airport Commission, as the town council has indicated, basically operates independently, and they can make major decisions with the money in the revolving fund that'll have long-term
You're past
impacts.
your point of order. It's Article 13 has the amount. It's $85,000 that's in that revolving fund. Again, I think we're to the point we can vote. I mean, really.
Justin A. Summer Street, just a previous speaker had asked a question about the value of the company, and it was very easy to find out. $85,000 that we're proposing for the revolving fund against an annual revenue of Shoreline Aviation of $4.4 million, and an estimated valuation of the company at $14.2 million.
Great, thank you.
$85,000 is amazing. It's nothing.
Okay, I'm going to a vote on this. This is a majority vote. All those in favor of Article 8, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that that passes by majority. We're going to have to go slow. We were contemplating actually trying to link the other revolving fund articles together, but since we have questions that come up, I'm thinking that that is not the best of ideas, so we're just going to take them individually. So we're on to Article 9, which is the Ventris Library Revolving Fund. Bear with me here for a moment. Article 9, the Select Board moves that the town vote to amend its general bylaws to establish the Ventress Library Revolving Fund as set forth in Article 9 of the April 27th, 2026 annual town meeting warrant. Anybody from the Select Board want to comment? Advisory Board.
Yes, the library revolving funds would be funded by revenue that the library gets from copying equipment in the library that people pay for, and creating this revolving fund will allow that to stay within the library and help fund all of their programs. Also, this revolving fund will bring more transparency to the library's budget because until now, these revenues have been reported in the gift fund when they really should be in the revolving fund. And the advisory board voted unanimously to recommend approval.
Okay. We're going to go to discussion from the floor. This is a majority vote. Any discussion on the Ventress Library Revolving Fund? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? I declare that that passes. Going to Article 10, the Select Board moves that the town vote to amend its general bylaws to establish the Council on Aging Lifetime Learners Services Revolving Fund as set forth in Article 10 of the April 27, 2026 annual town meeting warrant. Comments from the Select Board? Advisory Board.
Yes, the Lifetime Learners activities are educational programs that participants pay for to attend, and so the fees that they charge will fund the revolving fund and help them to continue to provide those great programs. And the advisory board unanimously voted to approve this.
Okay. So again, this is a majority vote for Article 10. Discussion from the floor. Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Declare that Article 10 passes. Article 11. The Select Board moves that the town vote to amend its general bylaws to establish the Council on Aging Social Day Services Revolving Fund as set forth in Article 11 of the April 27, 2026 town meeting warrant. Select Board? Advisory Board.
Yes, the Social Day activities is a program where seniors can be brought to the council, and they participate in stimulating activities, and it provides a respite for their caregivers. There is a fee for this service, so again, that fee would fund the revolving fund and help them continue to provide their services. And again, the advisory board voted unanimously to recommend approval.
Okay. This majority vote. Discussion from the floor.
My name is Peg Davis, 87 New Street, Marshfield. I am very familiar with the Social Day program because I was volunteer on the COA Booster Board. It is one of the most effective programs that they have for seniors that are having memory issues. It's just a wonderful thing to have in the town, and people should be made more aware of it, and it deserves your full support. Thank you.
Okay. See no further discussion. All those in favor, again, majority vote, raise your hand. All those opposed, I declare that that passes. Article 12. The Select Board moves that the town vote to amend its general bylaws to establish a peer public access services revolving fund as set forth in Article 12 of the April 27, 2026 annual town meeting warrant. Select Board? No? Advisory Board?
Yes, the Peer Access Fund will be funded by parking and other fees related to using the Green Harbor boat ramp, and the money will use to fund maintenance and other costs associated with having that available to the town. And the advisory board voted unanimously, I can't say the darn word, to recommend approval.
Okay. Majority vote. Seeing no discussion from the floor. All those in favor of Article 12, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Declare that that passes by majority. Huh? Not yet. Article 13, the Select Board moves that the town vote to set fiscal year 2027 total expenditure limits for the revolving funds under Marshfield Town Code, Chapter 95, Finance and Budget, Section 95-20, Revolving Fund Bylaw as set forth in Article 13 of the April 27, 2026 Annual Town Meeting warrant. And that sets the limits that the revolving funds can use. Select Board? Advisory Board?
Yes, these expenditure limits are based on prior experience and adjusted to reflect anticipated revenues and expenditures. They are a financial control measure, and the advisory board voted again, no, I'm sorry, we had one abstention and 6 votes for approval.
Okay. Discussion from the floor.
Just very briefly, Peg Davis, 87 New Street, Marshfield. It seems that every year we spend a phenomenal amount of money in the ball fields. I think it's time that we had some limitations, and I think we really need to review overall just what percentage of town funds we're spending on maintaining ball fields and not keeping them up after redoing them. Thank you.
Okay. Rear microphone.
Yes, Barton Clary, Ellis Avenue, Marshfield. Mr. Moderator, are you going down the line from 1 all the way down to 11 separately? You're just doing it as one unit?
I wasn't intending to, but I can if you would like me to.
Well, whatever is easiest for you, and I will quicken the pace.
I will read them individually then.
Well, with respect to my last question, I can go right down to one, to the beaches. I have a question on that, if I may.
Okay.
On the beaches, is that the walkway to the Winslow Beach, okay, the Winslow walkway to the beach, stand corrected, is that part of this $450,000?
Cindy Castro, Beach Director.
No, it does not. This is for salaries and expenses.
This is only salary and expenses, right?
Correct.
Okay. Could you tell me, please, if it's possible, how do we quicken the pace to get the repair work done for the Winslow walkway to the ocean?
It's a little bit beyond the scope of the article, but worth an answer.
We are working on it, but we will not be putting Moby mats on Winslow Ave.
I beg your pardon?
We will not be putting Moby mats on Winslow Ave.
That's understandable. How about the a hardened pathway with a deepen
Yes.
rock or, widen it in that effect too? Can that be done, as I have asked for the last 5 years, each year?
As well as myself, yes. We are working on getting a contract for a design.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. So we're going to go to a vote. All those in favor of Article...
Point of order, are we able to ask questions about the airport revolving fund amount yet?
I think we've pretty much beat that one to death.
No, we haven't. If this is a separate article, can I
Okay.
ask a question about the...
This is the total of what was discussed earlier, but yes, go ahead.
Okay. The expenditure limit for the airport being $85,000, Please explain to me what the consequences are of us not approving that right now.
They won't have any authority to spend any money.
Okay. I think that we should not approve the $85,000 revolving fund account for the airport, and here's why. Any money that the Airport Commission gets, and they're very pro-aviation, it's there, the people that are there, their job is to keep the airport going and to expand it if necessary. The description of revolving fund is very vague about how they can use the money. And here's the key, folks. There are state and federal agencies that give grants to things like the airport and airports around the country. All they require is a teeny, teeny, tiny percentage. If you want $1 million from the Mass Aeronautics Commission or from the FAA, kick in $5,000 and they'll give you massive amounts of money, hundreds or millions of dollars. So because you are now giving away control of how much money from the town is being used to leverage those grants, you're basically opening up that place for massive expansion. And I've seen plans for an extension of a runway basically almost to the beach. So that include components that would allow that. So we should not approve that $85,000 amount because we don't know how that's going to be leveraged into expansion activities. Thank you.
Robert Galvin, Town Council. The airport cannot expand to the east towards where your house is, Mr. Pisovich, because
Why?
there is a river there that cannot be crossed. And on the opposite side, on the westerly side, there is another body of water or a wetland that cannot be bridged or extended. And the airport as it stands right now, I think encompasses almost the entirety of the airport zone as it's been already zoned. So there is no further ability to expand the airport as a practical matter. And I'm aware of any plans to further extend the airport. They've just completed this year their final phase of the airport extension that was built and started several years ago by paving the aprons. There is no plans that I'm aware of or that any other town official is aware of an effort to extend the runways any further than they are today.
And we shouldn't, and you are incorrect. It is not something that is impossible to do. Extending anything or extending a surface over a river is accomplished by dropping concrete conduits, precast conduits into the river. That's how it was done and that's how it was laid out. And as far as all the other work on the environment there, yes, they've gotten variances from the state and federal government to do the expansions they did into sensitive areas.
Thank you. Mr. Lynch.
Steve Lynch, 50 Central Street. So I just have a question. So I think I heard this earlier, but is it true we don't have a right to know how much Shoreline Aviation makes from us subsidizing their airport?
I didn't say they didn't have a right to know. I said, I think the statement was, I believe we do not know.
We do not know, because, you know, say Shoreline Aviation was making $20 million a year in net profit, and we're charging them $85,000 to rent it and then give it back to them. You wonder why we have a problem with revenue in this town? Because things like this just go on here. And I just want to make one recommendation. I'm not, I didn't get here from the beginning, so I don't know how you started, Jim, but for the convenience of order for a 70-year-old man like myself, can we get rid of the bingo balls and just go right through, one through, whatever, so I can turn the page to the next one we're going to? Thank you.
Gentleman at the rear microphone.
How you doing? Brian McIsaac, 133 Tower Ave. I just had a question for Ms. Castro, if you would. Just curious how many people you have working for you in the beach recreation department, and how many lifeguards that are on board for our beaches in
We
town?
actually just did our hiring last week at the Board of Selectmen. With the Board of Selectmen, we'll have 63 part-time employees, meaning most of them will be working between 2 and 4. A few will be working 5 days a week.
Okay.
And
How many
that is
actual
seasonal.
seasonal lifeguards? Okay. So that's where the
All
450
employees
is.
but me are seasonal.
Okay, so we're spending like $300,000 on seasonal employees
Pretty close, yes.
that's like 55 people?
For 63 people.
Okay, all right. And then I just had a question for recreation as well, Mr. Robinson, if he's available.
What's your question? We'll see if we can get an answer.
Well, it just says that they're spending $320,000.
That's the expenditure limit. It doesn't mean they're spending that. That's as much as they could spend.
Right. I'd just like to know where they're spending it.
Anybody from Recreation that can
Anybody?
address that?
Because as far as I'm concerned, all the other examples in town are all separate entities, and I don't see any recreation going on.
Somebody's coming to answer your question.
Hi, Craig Jameson, Recreation Director. We use the funds we generate through programs to pay for our part-time seasonal staff and all the supplies to run the programs.
And how many employees do you have under you?
Typically, throughout the year, we have about 30 to 50 seasonal and part-time employees.
And that is just spring and summer, or?
The whole entire year, we run programs.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Sevich, you spoke.
Yeah, but motion to amend line 7 to 0.
You're done. You already spoke.
What do you mean I'm done? I have the right to motion to amend.
You spoke, no.
All right, point of order. Mr. Galvin is engaging in doxing by pointing out the fact that my house is near the runway, as if to imply that this is simply a personal issue with me. This is a town-wide impact. This is not just about the place being,
You're done.
my house being near the end of the runway. That's doxing.
So we're going for a vote on Article 13. It's a majority vote. All those in favor of Article 13, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that Article 13 passes. Article 14, Chapter 90 funding from the 14. Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, we should be going to lottery at this point. 32.
Jim,
Harvey?
I don't know if there's a point of order, but I was just wondering, how come we can't vote yea or nay line item on an article like that?
I didn't think there was any discussion on, or any dissent on that stuff. We've already cast a vote for the article.
I know, I'm just asking, I mean, really, we should have been able to vote yea and nay on, like, the airport, and then being able to pass the beaches, but deny the airport.
The revolving funds typically have always passed just as they are. I know there's a little bit more discussion today with the airport and all that.
Right.
But we'll pass it as written at this point.
All right.
I take your point, though. So we're into the lottery. We're in Article 17. I was ready to just keep going. Article 17, we're into the, probably should have. Yeah, I'm getting there.
Go to the lottery.
We should probably make 17 to 16.
Shouldn't we do it 16 first, aren't they connected?
We're going to go to Article 16 and link that with 17 because that's all CPC articles. So Article 16, the Community Preservation Committee moves pursuant to Chapter 44B of the Massachusetts General Laws that the town vote to set aside the sum of $259,217 from FY 2027 revenue for historical reserve, I'm reading them, for historical reserve. So that's the first motion within the CPC article. So the CPC article has multiple pieces to it. We're going to be voting on each of those individually. So we'll start off with that, Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good evening, fellow citizens. My name is Dennis Kelleher. I live on Marshfield Drive. I have the pleasure of chairing the Community Preservation Committee. As Mr. Moderator mentioned, I will be presenting two CPC articles. Article 16 is a general housekeeping article required to set annual set-asides that every CPA community must adhere to. Before I get to the specifics of the article itself, I just wanted to raise a few points because I've gotten a lot of questions as it relates to how a CPA community performs. Marshfield has participated in the CPA program since 2001. It has funded over $35 million in community projects. All of these projects were funded from CPC reserves, not the town budget. CPA funds come from three sources: surcharges on your property tax bill, the state match, and interest earned on unused balances. These funds can only be used for town meeting approved projects in affordable housing, historical preservation, and open space recreation. They cannot be used for general town operations. Marshfield surcharge is 3%. That's 3% of your property tax bill, not 3% of your assessed value. That's a big difference and a big misconception by many people that have come up to me on the street. Furthermore, for CPA purposes, the assessed value of your home is reduced by the first $100,000, and there are exemptions for low-income households and for qualifying seniors. And if you're unsure of exactly what you pay annually to the CPA, pull out your tax bill. It's the first item under your bill invoice number. The 3% is set locally by this board, by the citizens. Town meeting can vote to change it, but if it is changed, it must remain in place for 5 years before it can be revisited. And as it relates to the state match, there are 3 rounds of matching funds for CPA communities. All communities participate in round 1. Only communities that participate at the full 3% participate in round 2 and round 3. Therefore, Marshfield benefits from all 3 rounds. Now back to the article. Article 16, for fiscal year 27, Marshfield's CPA revenue, which includes the surcharge, state match, and interest, will total $2,592,171. State law requires us to set aside 10% of that amount, $259,217, into each of the 3 CPA categories: affordable housing, historic preservation, and open space recreation. Those appear as items 1, 2, and 3 in Article 16. We are also permitted to set aside up to 5% for administrative cost. Item 4 reflects the amount of $125,000. Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. Advisory Board.
On Article 16, we unanimously approved, and it was very well done, Dennis. Thank you.
Okay. So Article 16 has 4 pieces to it. They're going to be individual items. There's the historic set-aside, there's the open space recreation set-aside, affordable housing, and administrative. So I'm going to call for a vote on each one of these, and then we're going to go back and vote Article 16. So, discussion from the floor on historic. Seeing none, I'll call for a vote on historic. This is majority vote. All those in favor of historic, please raise your hand. All those opposed, declare that passes. Open space recreation for $259,217. Discussion from the floor.
Good evening, Mary Ann Leonard, 70 Damon's Point. I have a question. If the money in any of those funds is not used, can it be transferred into another fund? No?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So vote on item 2, open space recreation. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? I declare that passes. Number 3, affordable housing, 259, 217. Discussion. All those in favor? All opposed? Declare that passes. And number 4, administrative, 125. Do you have are you coming down for a question on administrative? Right, so, thank you.
I'll come
All
talk
those
to you,
in-
Steve.
All those in favor of administration for 125, please raise your hand. All opposed? I declare that passes. And for Article 16 now, as a total, all those in favor of Article 16, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Declare that Article 16 passes. Did you have a question, Steve? We couldn't revisit it, but I can't hear you. Okay. So Article 17, we're linking to that. Now, these are where the projects come in, the individual projects. Article 17, the Community Preservation Committee moves pursuant to Chapter 44B of the Massachusetts General Laws that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $31,000. This is motion 1 of Article 17. $31,000 to fund the restoration work at the Chapel Cemetery as described in Article 17.
Mr. Moderator.
Item 1 of the April 27, 2026 annual town meeting warrant, and to meet said appropriation, transfer the sum from the CPC Historic Reserve Funds and said funds being expended under the direction of the Community Preservation Committee and the Superintendent of Public Works.
Are you going through all items? I thought we were going to do a general review.
Sure,
first. Yeah.
I'm with you.
Give me,
We did talk about that, so
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead, general review.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Just for the record, once again, my name is Dennis Kelleher, Chair of the CPC, and I live on Marshfield Drive. So Article 17, it's going to include a number of CPC projects that the committee felt were worthy of town consideration. We received 14 applications this year, and again, after 4 months of public meetings and review, we're bringing forward 10 specific items to this body. Those 10 items, by the way, equate to about $2.5 million in projects. All of these items have been presented to the Select Board and the Advisory Board in open meetings multiple times. It's important, once again, to note that all of these projects are funded out of CPC reserves. They are not part of the traditional town budget. The CPC currently has about $5.3 million in undesignated reserves, with, as we just mentioned, with another $2.5 million expected in fiscal year 27, which happens in July. And again, before turning it back to the moderator to go through the individual items, I did just want to take a moment while I had the podium to highlight some of the non-financial benefits of being a CPA community. The CPA really has a way of bringing out the best in Marshfield, which in these times we often need. It brings forward residents like Tom Whalen, who stands up for those who no longer can stand for themselves in restoring the cemeteries. It brings forward volunteers like Rachel, Joe, and Kevin, who give their time to ensure our recreational facilities are safe, welcoming, and something we can be proud of. It supports town entities like the Beach Commission, Historical Commission, Housing Authority, the Harbor Master's Office, working to improve access, safety, and preservation. And it allows us to collaborate with organizations like Habitat for Humanity. Not to mention, these projects rely on the expertise and hard work of our town staff, Andrew in the building department, Fred in the facilities, and Ken, Matt, and the entire DPW team, who really turn a lot of these applications and ideas into real improvements for our community. And I agree, I think, with all the challenges that we are facing, I hope that these and all of our prior CPC projects are really a sense of Marshfield pride. With that, Mr. Moderator, I yield back for item review.
Where we gang these together, Mr. Christopher, we talked about that earlier, whether you would like to make a statement.
Sure, just in line with Dennis's comments on the CPC authorization to expend funds for historic preservation, open space, and affordable housing. The advisory board reviewed the available balances that, based on their estimates, they'll have about $7.9 million going into fiscal '27. This article is about $2.5 million. It reflects the continued thoughtful planning, preserve of Marshfield's character while enhancing community assets. And by and large, there's some feel-good projects, which is we dearly need these days. The CPA structure ensures accountability with the departments responsible, as well as their contractors, and any unused funds go straight back to the fund. As Dennis mentioned, these funds can be leveraged outside grants, maximizing impact, since we're at that 3%, which gives us about $2.5 million for '27. The dedicated funds that do not impact the general budget, as he said, and the advisory board recommends favorable action on these 10 items that made it.
Great, thank you. Is there something you want to say before I start going through the individual line items?
Well, I just have a question.
Yeah.
Stephen Lynch, 50 Central Street. So, I mean, the property tax burden in this town is getting pretty heavy on people. So, the affordable housing lines here, when we're building Habitat for Humanity houses and guaranteeing that they're affordable, is it a guarantee that a Marshfield resident will get Marshfield tax dollars that built these houses?
I think we're straying a little bit far from the scope, but what did you say? Yeah, it's beyond the scope of what we're talking about here.
Well, if we're going to vote,
There's a set-asides, but the set-aside, we voted the set-aside to go into affordable. I don't know.
well, number 10 is to actually give money to build an affordable house. So are we going to guarantee that someone from Marshfield will get that affordable house from our tax dollars?
So if we want a Marshfield resident to get this, a Marshfield resident is going to have to qualify, and our planning department is going to have to make the case to the state that it should come to us. Almost every one of these developers that develops 40B housing, or in the case of Habitat for Humanity, they're happy to have a Marshfield resident, but the preference has to be made by the town to the state in order to make that happen.
Well, we should have our own qualification where,
Again, this is beyond the scope of what we're talking about. I understand where you're going for. That was the answer that we can give.
so we can't tie something to this where a Marshfield resident has to get the house that we build from our tax dollars?
It's not on the warrants. What you're talking about is not on the warrant. It's
Okay, so I'll make an amendment.
That's what I'm saying. You're talking about something that we're not talking about today. We approved the set-aside, but not a particular project. So I'm going to read the articles.
I got a question on number 10 also.
I'm sorry,
A question on number 10?
on the Article 10?
No, the section 10
I'm going to
of
read
this.
the articles in order.
Okay, I just wanted to make it clear so people know what they're voting on here. That $250,000, I believe, is to be appropriated at the 3A site, correct?
Mr. Moderator is going to go through each individual items. We're not even at item 10. Give him a moment to declare, and then you're absolutely right. We can provide further explanation of any of the items. We have experts here that can kind of elaborate on exactly what you and Mr. Lynch are talking about.
When I get to Article 10, you can ask your question, but right now, that's not on the table.
No, I'm on Article 17, Section 10 of
I know, but
it.
if you're talking about the 10th
Okay.
item,
Okay,
I haven't talked about that yet, so you're
Okay.
early.
all right.
You're welcome to come back up and just
Oh, I will.
talk about it, yeah.
I will, thank you.
So the first item is the historic to appropriate $31,000 from CPA funds for Chapel Cemetery restoration. These are all majority votes. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Article 1, or item 1 passes. We're on to item 2, historic, $250,000 from CPA reserves to restore Cedar Grove Cemetery. Again, that's under the CPC and the Historic Cemetery Commission. Discussion from Mike.
Julie Finn, 109 Old Main Street. Can you describe what the $250,000 will be used for at the cemetery?
Dennis?
And how that compares to the $31,000 that was just approved for the other cemetery?
Sure. Can you go to the slide? Just might be right. So this just gives a kind of at least a financial representation of these two projects, right? So the woman at the microphone asked specifically about the $250,000 for item number 2, Cedar Grove Cemetery. It's just a starting point. It is not expected to fully complete the project itself. It is based on estimates at all of the other cemeteries. The Cedar Grove, I think, is the last cemetery that is going to be needs to be restored. So all the estimates and tree work were based on prior restoration work for the to come up with that at least starting point of $250,000. Likely more money will be needed to complete that project in the future.
Gentleman with the microphone.
Bill Carver, Old Ocean Street. Right along the lines with that, is this all private contractor work being set out to bid, or do we no longer have a cemetery and tree department under the DPW that works under their budget?
Yeah, so what is within traditional scope, the DPW certainly owns that responsibility, the mowing, the regular maintenance. This is beyond scope to be able to restore fallen and broken and weathered stones, to restore them to readable format, to be able to place them in the, the place where those bodies reside. And a lot of this work is highly specialized. It is all bid out when it's possible to bid out. There's not a lot of companies that do this type of work, but it does have to follow historical procurement rules.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. No further discussion.
Hang on. One more. Kevin Malloy, 605 Highland Street, North Marshfield. Can you explain to me, with spending $250,000 on cemetery restoration, are we going to be keeping track and documenting each headstone that you're going to actually be doing and cleaning? It's my understanding that you're not going to be.
That's part of the cost itself. There is an assessment, and best efforts are made to identify the stones that are being replaced. So that is part of the work.
So therefore, we can go back and look and document and see who's buried where.
That is the intent of the applicant, yes.
Okay. In regards to the bidding out for the contractors to do the work, have there actually been legitimate bids submitted, or is this just an estimate of $250,000?
So with these applicants, their estimates based on prior bids, this work has not gone out to bid.
Right. That's what I thought. Thank you.
Okay. Go to a vote. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Laurel Egan Kenny, 51 Old Main Street. Question, I see the allocations within the cemeteries. We've been the benefit of having one in Marshfield Hills, beautiful job. I wonder, could we allocate some of the funds, instead of tree removal, to adding trees?
So my understanding...
That's beyond the scope of this article, really. That's not what it addresses.
But real quickly,
But could I get an answer?
My understanding from the applicant is trees are one of the biggest reasons these stones are cracked. So no.
Okay.
Okay. So it's a majority vote in Article 2, or Item 2. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that Article 2 passes. Item 3, historic, to appropriate $54,000 from CPA reserves to replace the wood roof at the Winslow Schoolhouse. And that's coming Community Preservation Committee and Historical Society. Any discussion from the floor? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of item 3, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Passes. Item 4, open space recreation, to appropriate $65,000 from CPA reserve funds for town beach amenities, Community Preservation Committee, town beaches. Discussion from the floor. Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of Article 4? Passes. All opposed? 5, open space recreation to appropriate $140,000 from CPA reserves for softball dugouts at Governor Winslow's school. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll go for a vote. All those in favor? All opposed? Passes. Number 6, to appropriate $1,175,000 from CPA reserves for Phase 2 of MHS ball fields.
Julie Finn, 109 Old Main Street.
Just a second. I'm just going to get my bearings here, that's all. So go ahead.
Just if you could describe what Phase 2 of the Marshfield High School ball fields entails, please?
Absolutely, and I'll actually defer to the expert and the applicant of this, and certainly will supplement as need be.
Hi, good evening. Rachel Altabello, Bowles Road in Marshfield. I've been the sponsor for the Ball Fields project, championing the revitalization group that we have. We established Phase 1 when we came in front of you last year. That project is really far along. If you haven't seen, the fields will all open this week, which is really great news for the community. Coming to you now for Phase 2, which was kind of approached last year. It actually was bundled in the initial Phase 1, but we decided to kind of allocate the funds over time and be responsible, get the project done so that the fields can be playable, meaning that was like the most important thing for our community. What you see here is just the benefit of lighting. A lot of times our teams are out there and they can't finish a game. In addition, we have a lot of athletes within these programs that have to go to other places and other fields around town because we don't have enough facilities for them. If we add lights here, it kind of extends the use, extends the time we can have these athletes on their own complex, practicing and playing games. As you can see, what else did I cover? And then I guess I will say, as we approached Phase 1, we got in front of you last year and lights did come up. So when lights did come up, we took every measure to kind of get prepared for the future use if lights were to be approved. So with Phase 1, we did package into that cost was the conduit to be run, so that's already set in place. So the field, the varsity field for baseball, is actually prepared and ready for lights, so it can be a pretty streamlined process as we go forward. I don't know if you want to hit, okay, I guess this. And just in consideration, everything we're doing is just to put the most efficient spec in place. So most efficient spec in place, energy conscious, obviously, and really know that the lights and the energy is only going to be used when the fields are in use, right? So this isn't going to be something that's on all the time. It's really when the kids need it, when we're playing in that spring season, and then there's some fall opportunity too. And I think just as an effort from our group, we've done a lot to fundraise. We've been out and about. You've probably seen us on Facebook and holding events, but we really have tried to kind of make this a big community feel. We right now, when we're putting dugouts up at the high school, we have the Marshfield High School wood shop. They're the ones putting those up. I mean, there's a lot of pride in just people that are touching this project and taking care of each other along the way. Hopefully you see it, hopefully you drive by, you're proud of the work that we've done, and you allow us to complete the job. This is just a breakdown if you need it further. You can see in for the baseball field. So the baseball field is a larger package because it has the stadium lighting, it has a scoreboard, and it has a sound system. These are all standard elements on a baseball field in our communities. If you go to Duxbury, you go to Pembroke, you go to Plymouth, this is all standard stuff that their facilities have. We're now catching up, and we really want to have the same opportunities for our players. I will take questions. I don't know if there's more that anyone has.
Moving at the microphone.
Tina Shea, Carswell Street. How many phases are there?
This will be the final phase.
Thank you.
Good question.
Brian McIsaac, 133 Tower Ave. I just had a question. You guys said the rest of the community. Does that mean the rest of, besides, high school children are going to be able to play on the field? Essentially, utilize it for men's leagues for the rest of the community, or is it just going to be cut off for the high school kids?
I would say the possibilities are endless. Right now, the primary use would be for the Marshfield High School kids and for the Marshfield youth programs, but everything that's done is through the town and through the rec department, so all that stuff can be created.
I just think that maybe we could look into it for more revenue for the
Yep,
town.
it's a great idea.
My point to capitalize for the lighting.
Yep,
Thank you,
absolutely,
thank you.
absolutely.
Great, thank you. All right, we're going to go to a vote. This is a majority vote. All those in favor of item 6, please raise your hand. All opposed? I declare that that passes. Item 7, to appropriate $490,000 from CPA reserves for Phase 2 David Point docks. And this is between Community Preservation Committee and the Harbor Master. Discussion from the floor.
Molly Diorce, 142 Old Main. This is a Phase 2. I think Phase 1 was about $60,000. Can you confirm?
Yes, it was, yes.
Can you tell me how many public parking spaces there are at the Damon's Point Landing? While I appreciate this is an emergency egress, how many public spaces are available for Marshfield residents?
11.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion, I'll call for a vote on 7. All those in favor of 7, again, majority vote. Raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that 7 passes. 8, affordable housing, to appropriate $25,000 from the CPA reserves for the creation of the MHA CDC. This is Community Preservation and the Marshfield Housing Authority. Discussion from the floor. Seeing none,
Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road, member of the Marshfield Housing Authority, Board of Commissioners. We're going to get a presentation, an explanation to be on record as to what this is about.
if somebody wants it. Mr. Keller.
We certainly can, Mr. Pasovich. I know you saw it at the Housing Authority, I believe, as well, because I know you were a voting member on it. We can certainly present to town meeting if you'd like.
I think the town meeting should hear what this is about. As a member of the Housing Authority, I know very little about this, but I'm only one of 5, and that's kind of the way it's been going since I've been on it for 3 years. I'm doing my best, folks.
Kerry Richardson, 115 Cross Street. Just a full disclosure, chairperson of the Marshfield Housing Authority, a member of the Marshfield Housing Trust, and a member of the CPC, and former president of the Board of Directors of South Shore Habitat for Humanity. I'd like to ask Joe exactly what he would like to know about this.
I would like you to make a presentation and explain to people and me what this is, how it works. Thank you.
So the community, Marshfield Housing Authority right now has properties at T-Rock Garden and also at Grace Rider. And then there's, I believe, 16 individual family homes throughout the town of Marshfield. Under state law, the Marshfield Housing Authority is not allowed to build any additional affordable housing. The state does not have the funding to accomplish that, not only here in Marshfield, but throughout the rest of the state. So the Community Development Corporation, if it is formed and voted by you, will be able to build additional affordable housing. This has been accomplished. When I say this, it means the Community Development Corporation has been accomplished in many towns and cities throughout the state of Massachusetts. Currently, it's operating in the city of Quincy. City of Quincy just provided over $2 million to the Community Development Corporation so that they could build additional affordable homes. The town of Hingham is providing funds to their CDC, and they're going to build additional affordable homes. The town of Hanson just awarded their CDC funds to build one single-family home. So in the town of Marshfield, we could, if the CDC is approved, build some multi-unit homes. We could build single-family homes. We could work with other nonprofit organizations to build homes for people who are challenged. And we can basically do what the Marshfield Housing Authority Board would allow through the CDC. So the CDC would be formed by the current Marshfield Housing Board members. There are 5 of us. 4 of those members are Marshfield elected members, 3 by you and 1 by the Tenants Association over at T-Rock. And then I am appointed by the governor of the state of Massachusetts. So we would create the board of directors for the Community Development Corporation. That board could then act as the developer for affordable housing. We currently have the Housing Trust here in Marshfield. They are not a developer. We can be a developer if we're the CDC and you vote for this. This $25,000 basically sets up the CDC. It's for attorney fees, accounting fees, et cetera, to basically create the CDC. If we become a developer, we would have to go before the planning board, we have to go before the zoning board. We're not going to be able to develop anything unless it's passed through the regulatory body of the town of Marshfield.
Follow-up?
Yeah, follow-up. Since I got on the Housing Authority, I've been an advocate for ways to find ways to preserve affordable housing. Marshfield's got a lot of very small units that are modest, that are within reach of a lot of people, but we're undergoing McMansionization in this town right now and gentrification. The problem with this right now is I want to know who's going to get this $25,000, and there's obviously some references to sort of like office supplies and things like that. Where will this be located? Is there going to be an office? Are they going to rent space somewhere?
No. You know, the Marshfield Housing Authority Board is going to elect or designate the 5 current members of the Marshfield Housing Authority to sit on the board of the Community Development Corporation. So the Marshfield Housing Authority will continue to have its regular meetings. The CDC will determine how often they would like to meet, and those board members, which I am one, you are one, and there's 3 others on the board, would make those decisions. If they feel that they need additional space, then they would make that decision. That board would make that decision. My personal opinion, there's no need for additional space. We currently use the community room over at T-Rock Gardens, and therefore there's sufficient space there. So we would not expend funds for rental.
So if this is established and property is developed, who will manage the property? Will it be the Marshfield Housing Authority Board, or will it be possibly subbed out?
The CDC, the Marshfield Housing Authority, is separate from because they cannot create new housing. So the Community Development Board would basically be making the decisions.
Would the Community Development Board be making decisions on what property to acquire and what to build?
Yes.
How will they be accountable to the Marshfield Housing Authority Board of Commissioners?
The CDC reports to the Marshfield Housing Authority.
But the Marshfield Housing Authority can't be involved in creating those housing units.
Correct.
So the
So the
CDC is going to be kind of on its own.
So the CDC would be on its own
Is it
in
possible
making the decisions.
Is it possible that the Quincy Housing Authority could manage and control the CDC?
Is it possible that the Quincy Housing Authority would manage the CDC? It's possible that the CDC, Marshfield CDC, could hire the Quincy Housing Authority to help make decisions for the Marshfield CDC, yes.
And how will the CDC be constituted? Who's going to be on it?
I thought I mentioned that the CDC Board of Directors initially would be the 5 board members who are on the Marshfield Housing Authority. So you would be one of those members. Initially, and you would be elected for X number of years. That's what the Marshfield Housing Authority will decide. You are one of those members, so you will help decide who will be, how many years each person will serve.
Question for council. What is the relationship of the CDC to the town of Marshfield government?
What is the relationship between the Community Preservation Committee and the town?
CDC, this
There is
corporation.
none.
We're talking about the Marshfield Development Corporation, Bob.
I couldn't hear the word you said, CDC. So the answer is there would be no relationship between the town and the CDC.
So no accountability or control?
It would be accountable to the housing authority that Mr. Richardson and yourself are members of.
The control would be if the CDC has to appear before any Marshfield Town Board, that board would have the control as it normally has over any other developer.
Okay. One point that was just mentioned, Kerry, Mr. Richardson, is that you're the governor's appointee to the Housing Authority?
Yes.
And is that a 5-year term?
It's a 5-year term and then continues until I'm replaced by the governor.
So, and that's what's happening now? Okay.
You're out of time.
I'm basically in favor of this, but there's going to be problems with accountability and control. So people just pay attention for me,
Okay, you're
because I may be on the Board of Selectmen at the time.
back microphone.
Tina Shea, Careswell Street. So I just want to be clear. So the town of Marshfield will have no control of this? Is that correct?
The select board would not have any control. All of your town departments that would have any say in any development that the Marshfield Housing Authority, Community Development Corporation wants to propose, they would have a say in what would occur.
Okay. And so we already, don't we already meet our quota for affordable housing?
Yeah. Do we currently have affordable housing? Yes. And currently, I believe we exceed the 10%. However, if the town of Marshfield continues to grow and some of those homes that are currently recognized as affordable come off the rolls, we'll then be below 10% again, and we'll want to attempt to achieve the 10%.
What brings them off the roll?
Sometimes the longevity of the home. I'm trying to remember some of the other. If there's, well, they come off the roll because some are qualified to be on the roll for X period of time. Some are qualified to be on the roll for a lifetime. I apologize, I don't have that information right in front of me as to how many are lifetime and how many can come off the roll.
So you're just asking for $25,000 just to set up an account?
Correct.
And where is the money from all of this building going to come from?
So the future funding can come from many sources. It can come from the Marshfield Housing Trust. It can come from grants. It can come from private individuals. It could come from many other sources. It could come from the Community Preservation Committee if we ask for funding from them.
Thank you.
Back microphone.
Hi, Dennis. Bonnie McCarthy, 83 Donald Road. I am 100% for the Community Preservation Committee with open space, land, rejuvenating Marshfield the way it was when I born and raised here. I look at these line items and it looks like almost a third of all the money we're expending is for affordable housing under the umbrella of a Community Preservation Fund. Well, 3 out of 10 is 1/3. I just feel the ballpark's wonderful. Everyone gets behind that. We're now, what you mentioned, sir, and believe me, I don't understand that. It's not my wheelhouse. But Marshfield is having such an issue with getting a budget, securing a town administrator, and now I think we're jumping the gun here with allocating $25,000 to create more affordable, a place for us to develop more housing. I don't think anyone who's lived here for the 50-plus years, like a lot of us, think Marshfield has an issue with not developing enough right now. It's unrecognizable to a lot of people come home and visit. I just feel like maybe we should step back. It looks like we're allocating a lot of money. And another line item, another $250,000. The last article was another $250,000 for affordable housing. Several other items, which is great. But I think this is opening up to creating, I may be wrong, but this is creating this account so that we can now funnel more money into affordable housing as opposed to rejuvenating our community and preserving open space. That's my opinion.
Just so you know, the way the CPC works, a third of the money that comes in goes to affordable housing.
Yes.
That's part of the law.
But am I mistaken on that this will allow more?
No. I mean,
This could
the
allow
money is
more.
already allocated for affordable housing. You can't use it somewhere else.
But he just mentioned that this could allocate more money because we have a reserve instead of other,
Ms.
maybe we
Murray,
shouldn't.
may I address that, please?
Sure, go ahead.
Sure. So
Yeah,
if,
but I
if,
just
we-
feel like
so
maybe we
under the
we're
affordable
good.
housing, as I mentioned, some of it could come from grants, not necessarily from the town of Marshfield. Some of it could come from other sources.
But it could come from this,
If I may
Let him
finish.
speak, please.
Well, that's why all I wanted to ask
This is
was,
not he's trying to
can it
answer
come
your
from
question.
the CPC?
You
I
as
heard that,
you as a citizen,
yeah.
if we ask for more money from CPA, you have the right to come
So it
before
can.
the
Thank you.
town and turn it
Please
down.
let him talk.
No, that's, I don't need any more, you're asking questions on my behalf, pardon me, Mr. Moderator, but
I am.
I didn't ask that. I simply said, I heard him when he said that it could come from grants, but it also was, we were led to believe that certain towns are allocating several $1 million to their fund. And I had one simple question. Can more money be allocated from this? You put words in my mouth with respect. I didn't ask about all that.
Okay,
Can
you're out of
more
time.
money come?
Now,
And
no.
that, I wanted that one question answered.
Okay,
I already know about the grants.
okay. Front.
Eric Kelly, Peterson Path. I believe that we're all, most of us, are open to affordable housing, as seen by some of our CPC or CPA articles.
You need to speak in the, I can't hear you, sir.
And the only thing is that with this new development corporation, I think with the lack of controls for the town, it's going on a hole that if we authorize this, that we may not be able to return from. And there could be you'll see Marshfield transform, much like they want to do with the MBTA Communities Act, in my opinion. Kerry said is that the money can come from anywhere. Well, that means there's probably people out there with money that want to make money as well, potentially on this, and willing to chip in to make that money. I think this is bad news for Marshfield. My opinion is I would shoot this down because we can already do this in Marshfield for affordable homes in a controlled form. This would just open up something that we would never be able to recover from, in my opinion. Thank you.
Gentleman at the front microphone.
Bob Foltz, 74 Colonial Road again. I was just wondering, CDCs can do a lot of things. They can do industrial development, they can do all kinds of things. Is this particular CDC going to be limited to affordable housing?
As far as I'm concerned, if I'm a voting member, yes, it's going to be limited to affordable housing. Every town that I've been associated with, as far as knowledge of CDC, they haven't done anything except affordable housing.
Okay, they can. I've worked with them as well. And so, yeah, if it's in the charter that you're just going to do affordable housing, I totally support it. Otherwise, I would not support it.
Back microphone.
Hi, Peg Davis, 87 New Street, Marshfield. I see people from the same side making contradictory statements. I mean, we need affordable housing in this town because people are getting priced out of homes. People are complaining against tax raises. This is homes for Marshfield residents. The CPC requires that we have, or the CPA requires that part of the funds are used for affordable housing. And this can be for people that are already in town that need that. I just don't see what the issue is. I think the Housing Authority's done a good job, and I think this is a way to keep development so that it makes sense instead of having outside developers come in and do things that we don't want. This is something that will be controlled by the people in the town.
Front.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Grayson Pelletier, 1050 Careswell Street. As most likely the youngest person in this room right now, I would like to give comment as a younger person that would appreciate living in the town of Marshfield, but realistically will not be able to due to the fact that we will be priced out. And I would like to comment on what the previous speakers have mentioned as they are concerned that their town is changing. Everywhere is changing. So Marshfield should change for the better. Marshfield should change to welcome more people, and especially welcome back their youth that will probably not to be able to afford a home here. I know a lot of my friends want to come back to Marshfield, but looking at the current prices of houses right now, well, that is not possible for anyone under the age of 60 to get a home here in Marshfield. So I applaud the work that you guys are doing. I urge everyone here to vote yes on this article. Thank you.
Please. Front microphone.
Lizanne Road, 64 Sheridan Drive. For me, this is about 40B. We have been teetering. The 40B has been in existence, I don't know, I feel like my entire adult life. The town of Marshfield has had to fight 40B developments. We've had to pay attorneys to fight literally years to change the projects, to modify the projects, and we've, in the end, had to say yes to them because we didn't meet the 10% threshold. We finally are at the 10% threshold, and we're right on the line. If we could lose a few houses here or there, or the town lets a development go in with 10, 12 houses, we could slip underneath that 10% mark again. This has been a losing battle. This can help us stay above that 10% mark. We're not going to be able to house all our kids that we want to stay here. We're not going to be able to house everybody, but we can start to have more control over the 40Bs as they want to come in here and develop it. I'm voting yes for this.
I hit the rear microphone, and then we're going to go to a vote.
Lori Dolan, 93 Summer Street. You kind of beat me to the punch, the lady who spoke right before me. My understanding of this, and maybe Carrie, you can tell me if I'm right or wrong, but this actually provides us money that doesn't have to come from the town. It could be from, like you said, grants or private funding or fundraisers to make the housing so that we can stay above that 10% and keep the 40Bs out. Is that correct?
You are correct.
So I'm voting for this.
Okay. Again, this is a majority vote. All those in favor of Article 8, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that Article 8 passes. So we are on item 9. Item 9, affordable housing, to appropriate $55,000 from CPA reserves for the restoration of the Grace Rider cupola. And this is from Community Preservation Committee and Marshfield Housing Authority. Discussion from the floor.
Lori Dolan, 93 Summer Street. So when I read the details under this, it sounds like this could fall under either the historical or the affordable housing. To me, if it's falling under affordable housing, delete the cupola so you don't have to keep repairing it. So why did you choose to put it under affordable housing instead of historic?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. This is one of those rare projects that could fall on either category. Flat line is there's more money in one bucket than the other, so we decided to go with the affordable housing.
Okay. See no further discussion. All those in favor of Article 9, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that Article 9 passes. Item 10, affordable housing, to appropriate $250,000 from CPA reserves for the construction of an affordable home, and that's Community Preservation Committee in conjunction with South Shore Habitat for Humanity. Gentleman at the rear microphone.
Yes, I just, Larry Keene, 195 Cornhill Lane. I just wanted to make sure that everybody realizes what this money is being spent on. This is the project that is off of 3A Main Street. The town purchased this open space, or this development, if you will, and they're separating the house that's on this lot. But the $250,000 that is being appropriated for it is not going to be earmarked for Marshfield residents. Is that correct? They would not get preference?
Yeah, and I do have experts here from the Habitat for Humanity, but that is correct, because Habitat Humanity can't designate a one-family dwelling to a particular resident of the town to which they're building. They do, so Marshfield residents can certainly apply, but they can't guarantee Marshfield placement, just as if Marshfield can apply to other communities and wouldn't have to be isolated.
But we're not in other communities, we're here. I just wanted to make it clear that Marshfield, the residents spent almost $2 million to purchase this property, and then we spent the money to separate the house off of it and build it, make it on a buildable lot, make it conforming, and then we're going to give $250,000 away from it. How many people in this room think it's going to be one of their sons, daughters, or grandchildren that are going to get it? Is there any way we could make it that, if there was a tie in the race, if you will, that the Marshfield resident would get the nod?
Yeah, and that's a great question. It was actually asked by my board when we vetted. Mr. Lynch asked about it during the zoning board. So when it was vetted, unfortunately, no, it's not allowed under the Habitat for Humanity requirements.
So something like this, why wouldn't we just take this house and do a lottery in the town of Marshfield for a Marshfield resident that would qualify, deed restricted, and then give that person the $250,000 to renovate or rebuild?
And be mindful, this $250,000 is part of a much larger project. This isn't the end-all be-all.
Sure, it's like $540,000 for the total project,
it's a little north of 600 for the build, and that doesn't include any of the overhead.
So how big of a piece of property is it? Like $300 a square foot to build a house, brand new construction? How big of a house are you building? That wouldn't be a 3-bedroom unfinished ranch, right? A 3-bedroom ranch with a, pretty nice, nicer than my house. And, you know, I just want to make it clear that, you know, again, we're spending this money, it's turning into funny money. It's just 250 here, 250 there, and it's not earmarked for somebody that's from here. And that's wrong, in my view.
Okay. Rear microphone.
Steve Lynch, 50 Central Street. So what if we just don't give the money to them?
Can you talk into the mic? I can't
What,
hear you.
what if we just don't give the money to them and we create our own fund that we build up enough money to build affordable housing and have it go to a Marshfield resident?
What they did to me.
Because, you know, the way our tax rate is going, you know, okay, you want to have operational overrides? Well, that's great now to fund the school, but the kids you're going to fund the school for won't be able to buy houses in Marshfield if you keep going the way you are. Thank you.
Gary.
Marshfield currently has 4 Habitat for Humanity homes.
Name and address, right? Say your name and address.
Kerry Richardson, 115 Cross Street. We have 4 Habitat family homes in the town of Marshfield now. I've participated in building each one of those homes. Not every family that lives in a Habitat home in the town of Marshfield was a resident here initially. But I'm very proud to say that all of those 4 families have now contributed to the town of Marshfield. They're outstanding citizens, and they really help the town of Marshfield. We have them come back and volunteer, so you'll see them at different places throughout the town, helping the town of Marshfield grow in a very beneficial manner. And the way a family is selected by Habitat is that there's a family selection committee, and they interview those people, and they find out how they're going to contribute in the future. And so I would recommend that even though we may not get a current resident of the town, we will get a future resident that's going to contribute to the beneficial of the town.
Julie Finn, 109 Old Main Street. Can you provide an estimated cost, the total cost for this land and construction for this home that's described here that I guess is on 3A?
If we can flip back a couple slides. So the 4th bullet point was provided to me by the Habitat Humanities, kind of gives an overall scope of the project. It includes the 250 that is being requested to the CPC funds.
So the construction cost is $600,000, and the land cost was?
The land purchase, and I should have had the note because it was a 2 years ago CPC project, but I believe it was between $1.5 and $2 million for land purchase. Big part of that parcel was carved off for open spaces purposes. This was just a percentage of that parcel that had an existing dwelling on it, so it was deemed to be repurposed for affordable housing.
And have the funds already been secured for the balance, the $600,000 minus $250? Or is there going to be another request for money?
Yeah, there is no additional request pending for CPC and no anticipation that there would be more.
So all funds are available to go ahead and build the house
My understanding is a shovel-ready project.
once the $250 is
If it's
approved.
appropriated tonight, yes.
So is there any, so basically, like, say it's about $1 million to build this house, rough numbers, land and building. And so I'm just kind of curious if there is some evaluation process for $1 million for one family, and if there was another $1 million spent in a different area, we could have affordable housing for 4 families. Or if there's any thought process, any evaluation that goes into cost per unit, family that we can accommodate, provide housing, affordable housing for.
Yeah, I know with this particular property, because there is obviously to maximize each lot
Right.
to provide for many families. Fortunately, this didn't perk to support anything more than a one-family dwelling. And we certainly pushed and explored that. I know the Habitat for Humanity went in front of the zoning board and tried to be creative in their resources. This is the biggest home or dwelling that they could provide.
Right, so it's water under the bridge at this point, but going forward, perhaps we could evaluate before we make the purchase of the $1.2 million property, if like that thought process could go into play, so we could have more bang for our buck.
Certainly could, yes.
Front microphone. Priscilla, you.
Priscilla Maglio, 163 Arlington Street. I have two questions to ask. When you build a Habitat for Humanity home, do you adhere to the current zoning rules and regulations?
Yes, and they have gone before the zoning board already.
Excuse me, I'm asking about the future, not the past. I'm asking, are you guaranteeing that you're going to stay with the zoning board, with the zoning regulations, not the board regulations, the zoning regulations for, if there is the rule for an R2 building is 20,000 square feet if the land has not been developed in the past. Are you going to move into a 10,000 square foot lot and try to build a home that belongs on 20,000 square feet?
So, again, I'm not a builder. I wasn't part of the building process. This plot of land has an existing dwelling on it.
I know that. I'm asking questions in general about Habitat for Humanity.
He said he is not a builder. He doesn't have that information.
Okay. This is the next question. When a person moves out of a Habitat for Humanity home, do they make a promise that this house will go to the future person would come into a home declared reasonable housing or something that is for Habitat for Humanity?
Yeah.
Does it go on into the future?
Excellent question, and because it's so important, I'm just going to phone a friend and pull in the expert from Habitat for Humanity. I want to make sure that you get the right answer for that. Give me one second.
Yeah, there's a permanent restriction on a Habitat house. It's permanently restricted for affordability, correct?
Is it okay for me to go? Hi, everyone. I'm Erin McGew. I'm the Executive Director for South Shore Habitat for Humanity. Your question is a great one. Our affordable homes get permanent deed riders placed on them. They stay on the home in perpetuity. That lasts through foreclosure, it lasts through resale, it lasts through transition to subsequent heirs. These homes will be affordable forever. Does that answer your question?
Yes, but I don't believe that answer comes to be true.
Answer you have.
Now I'm going to just make one comment. In my neighborhood, a house was built for by Habitat for Humanity by someone who needed the help to have a home. That house is now up for sale. It's been remodeled, and it's up for sale to anybody to buy, so it's not going to be a Habitat for Humanity home. And it's up for $1,250,000 in a neighborhood that doesn't have that kind of price. So I don't get it.
All right, you're out of time.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Hello again, Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road. What are the qualifications for the eventual owner of this house? What qualifications do they have to meet?
Sure, they have to meet maximum income requirements. For the homes that we build, that's 80% of the area median income. So that varies depending on the area. We serve 32 towns south of Boston, so Marshfield has one particular area. We also have, they need to be able to, our motto is it's a hand up, not a handout. So the affordable homeowners need to be able to maintain a 30-year affordable mortgage. They need to be able to make their 3% down payment on the home. They will need to maintain their credit scores, and they will need to be able to get through the mortgage process through a third-party lender. So we do everything we can in order to ensure that these homeowners are set up in the best way possible to be successful in the homes that they're going to be purchasing at some point. We do that through financial literacy requirements, first-time home buyers. Oh, and I should mention, it's an important part of our program that all of the homeowners are first-time home buyers. So this is a great opportunity for somebody who might not otherwise be able to purchase a home for the first time to be able to get into this home. And again, it will be affordable in perpetuity and even at resale as well.
I think Habitat for Humanity is a great organization, but I think people need to get away from accepting the narrative that anything called affordable housing is necessarily affordable. For the young man who spoke earlier, and other people have spoke about the need to keep families together in Marshfield to make things more affordable. Affordability is more about other things. It's about taxes, number one, and utilities. Everybody should remember that. Just because it's called affordable or SHI, subsidized housing inventory, does not guarantee that someone can live here. Think about taxes, folks. Thank you. Otherwise, go ahead. I'm all for this, but does the planning board weigh in on this at all?
Zoning board did.
But the planning board, does the planning board have a role in this? Do they have an opinion of this type of thing?
According to town council, they do not have a role in this.
I see the town planner stepping to the microphone.
Karen Horn, town planner. I'm also the housing coordinator, and so which the Housing Trust has played a part in this, and it's the Housing Trust that's been working with Habitat to convey this property over, and so we've been supportive of them and supported their project through the ZBA, which they did receive a special permit because it's a non-conforming lot. And it is a LIP project. It will end up on our SHI list.
Right.
And the reason that it's not guaranteed to be a Marshfield resident is because to be on the SHI list through a LIP project, you can only dedicate 70% of the units to a Marshfield resident. You can't do that with one unit, which is why it isn't restricted to Marshfield applicants.
So LIP is local initiative project.
Yes.
People know that. And it has to be 70%.
Yes, so the 40Bs that have been recently approved did have a local preference requirement of 70% for the two that are up on Commerce Way. But with only one unit, the math doesn't work.
And we're at 10% now, right?
We're at 10.3.
Thank you. Thanks for your help.
Rear microphone.
Susan Karen, 205 Riverside Circle. I'm also the chair of the Marshfield Open Space Committee, and I would like to correct some misinformation that's been stated a few times about this land. The property that this house is on was purchased, it was an Open Space Committee purchase several years ago. I was not the chair even on the committee at that time, but I am very familiar with this. It was about a 14.5-acre parcel. It was an open space and joint affordable housing project. 1 acre was separated off with the existing house to be eventually used as affordable housing. The balance of that, 13.3 acres, is now open space. It was nowhere near $1 million, as I recall. I go over these numbers all the time. It was well below $1 million, and there was a lot of thought that went into this. It was a good acquisition, important conservation land, and affordable housing at the same time. That 13.3 acres, people may be confusing that with an acquisition that was just done last fall that was over $2 million. That was close to 19 acres of permitted developable land. Those parcels now abut each other in the rear, so it added to that protected open space there. So there was a lot of thought put into this. It's just taken a long time to get that house developed. That's it. Thank you.
Rare microphone.
Okay, Cody Rowland, 45 Whitford Circle. Same vein, I just wanted to clarify a little bit. I am the vice chair for the Marshfield Housing Trust, and the woman who spoke a couple prior, I think she just left, was talking about how it cost $1 million to build this one affordable home, and we are constantly looking for ways to utilize the very little amounts of money that we have through the CPC for affordable housing. We used to have an MHOP program where we would give a grant to a family who wanted to purchase a home in Marshfield, up to $120,000. They could go out and buy whatever home that they chose to. We would give them the $120,000, which would make it more affordable. And then we would put the deed restriction on for in perpetuity. It would always stay in the grant program, and we still have many, many of those homes all throughout the whole town. You wouldn't even know, you may have one next door and you don't even know it. But housing costs have are now so high that we can't give a grant large enough for somebody to qualify for some kind of, MHOP program or program. So to partner with Habitat for Humanity, we can get an affordable unit for $250,000. We can't get an affordable unit really any other way right now. So just wanted to make sure everybody understood that. We are very thoughtful about how we're trying to spend our money and looking at other ways to bring affordable housing into Marshfield, because we do want our kids to be able to buy houses here, and we don't want 40Bs forced on us. So that's all I've got.
All right, we're going to go to a vote on Article 10. Article 17, Item 10 of Article 17. So all those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Declare that passes.
Thank you,
We're going to
Marshall.
call one final vote. We've passed everything, all the 10 items in Article 17. One final vote on Article 17. All those in favor of Article 17, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Article 17 passes with majority.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Now, it is 10:15. You can take new business up until 10:30. We could stay going if we suspend the rules, but sorry to say that we're not quite halfway there, so we'll end up coming back tomorrow. So, Article 26. The Select Board moves that the town vote to approve the amended South Shore Regional Vocational School District Regional Agreement, allowing the admission of the town of Pembroke, as set forth in Article 26 of the April 27, 2026 Annual Town Meeting warrants. This is by the School Committee, Select Board. Select Board, comments? Advisory Board.
Scott Swain, Advisory Board. Article 26 allows Pembroke to join the vocational district. This spreads the cost across more communities. It reduces financial burden on existing members. The seat availability impact is minimal. Over time, enrollment will stabilize and plan expansion support future capacity. This is a net positive change. It strengthens the districts overall. The Advisory Board fully supports this article.
Craig. This is going to be majority vote. Discussion from the floor. Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of Article 26, please raise your hand. All opposed? Declare that Article 26 passes. We're on to Article 32. Article 32, the Board of Public Works moves that the town vote to amend the Marshfield Town Code general bylaws as set forth in Article 32 of the April 27, 2026 Annual Town Meeting warrant, amending a portion of the sewer connection bylaw.
Thank you, moderator. Matt Kinlan, town engineer. So this bylaw change updates 1979 regulation to better protect our sewer system by formalizing a one connection per lot standard that aligns with our newly adopted ADU policy. As a matter of practice, the town has already been limiting properties to one sewer connection per lot to minimize impacts on our sewer mains around town, reduce unnecessary connections, which can contribute to infiltration into our system and more wastewater for us to treat at our treatment plant. This update simply formalizes this long-standing practice, so it's clear and it's consistent. Additionally, the town recently adopted an ADU policy requiring accessory dwelling units to connect to their existing sewer service for their lot. So this change ensures that our new sewer regulations are aligned with that policy. The second part of this updated bylaw also ensures that the older grandfathered-in lots that don't have frontage aren't left out by providing clear guidance on how they can connect to sewer if need be. So overall, this modernizes this bylaw to reflect our current practice, supports our infrastructure, and provides clear guidance to property owners.
Okay. Advisory Board.
Not much to add there, Matt. Good job. But just minimizing the risk of additional tie-ins, trenching, cutting up the streets. Advisory Board approved.
Okay, thank you. Discussion from the floor.
Eric Kelly, Select Board, Peterson Path. In reviewing this, I know in the explanation it says ADUs, but in regards to the full text of it, how do we know this isn't going to be allowed for, I guess, piggybacking onto other sewer lines throughout town?
You're referring to one house connecting to another house?
Yeah, let's say there's one house that's on a sewer line, but let's say in back of it, there's a house that's on a septic system. So now they want to tie into it. So how do we know, how does this prevent that from happening? Especially if it's near town lines where, meaning border towns, where we might have that problem where we might start being, having people jump on different sewer lines, you know, like creating more sewer lines, I guess you could look at.
Yeah, so if someone wanted to piggyback, that wouldn't be something that the town would allow. If there was an agreement with the neighbor, they would have to get the proper easements, and that wouldn't involve the town, and that is included in this, and it already is included in the bylaw, and we wouldn't be removing that.
So you're saying they would be allowed to piggyback in different areas? Like if instead of not applying to an ADU, but just a random property would be able to connect to somebody's sewer line if they weren't already connected?
They would be able to connect to the sewer if they paid a sewer connection fee. If they wanted to connect to our sewer, each lot gets their own sewer service. They're allowed that one service connection. So if they want to connect to the sewer, and they have to go through someone's property, they're going to have to work out any sort of easement with their neighbor.
Yeah, so so if my understanding correctly is that this doesn't apply to ADUs. This could apply to any type of building that wants to connect to somebody that has a sewer line available, right?
No. No.
Who's saying no?
I'm saying no.
He's saying no, and he just shook his head no.
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 Point of clarification from the Board of Public Works.
Who the hell's talking? Oh, it's Bob.
Point of clarification from the Board of Public Works. Bob Shaughnessy on the Board of Public Works, 231 Hampstead Way. I've been on the Board of Public Works for 24 years. This is to clarify
Well,
the AD.
you got to be addressing as a member of the DPW, get up front.
Okay, thank you, I will.
You don't have discussion between different speakers if you're speaking in a professional
That's okay, I'm
association.
getting my steps in today. All right, got to keep in shape, you know. This is to clarify the ADU requirements that we have in town. If someone was going to piggyback to one person, it would probably be in the Brant Rock area where the lots are so tight. We're not going to be in neighbor towns. It's basically, it's to make sure that the ADO law has tight controls over it. That's what the Board of Public Works voted in. That's what we wanted to do. We don't want multiple connections, one from the front, one from the back. It's one connection per lot. So if there's an ADU in the main house, there's this one connection to the sewer.
Does it state that in the wording
Yeah,
in
I
regards
understand
to
what
one
you're saying.
connection?
There is an exception. The exceptions are those things that are down in Brant Rock because it's so tight, we have some exceptions to that.
That's my concern, is that you're saying there's only one connection allowed. So to ask you, Bob, does it state that in the wording on this? Because I don't think it does, right?
No, the wording is gone through the process, and the wording is to make sure that there is some room for tight lots.
I get that. I understand what you're doing. It's just I have concerns the way this is all written up, and I think it just leaves things open that
It doesn't
saying.
leave it open. It's tight.
All right, that's what you think, but
It's tight.
all right.
All right, it's tight.
Thank you.
It's tight.
I'm going to go,
I'm sorry. Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road, if I may. Is there a difference between a lot and a building lot? Maybe the building inspector can tell us, because this sounds like you could have maybe a substandard piece of land that's landlocked, and somebody wants to build or something like that on it. This is really all about is making landlocked lots developable.
No, it's not. It's to clarify that only one sewer connection is allowed per lot. And in town, especially by the beach, there are landlocked lots. There might be a house on the seawall and then two houses behind it that has no room to connect to the sewer, but they might already be connected, and us changing this could then all of a sudden make them out of compliance. So the second bullet point that we have up here is to just make sure that we're not eliminating that for those particular lots that are grandfathered in.
I don't know where the grandfathering comes in, but it sounds like sometimes what makes a lot developable or not developable is access to sewer, right?
if you answered her, if you can't, then I think you're supposing, my take from what they've said is they only want one connection to a sewer per lot. It's not making a lot developable or undevelopable. It's just you can't have more than one connection line coming in from that property to the sewer.
Yeah, but that's when you're referring to the lot that's already with frontage on the street with a sewer connection. I'm talking about how this affects landlocked lots that may not be developable because they don't have access to the street. So this, in effect, makes landlocked lots developable.
Thank you, Andrew.
Andrew Stewart, Marshfield Building Commissioner. There are many, many factors that go into making a lot buildable or not. Sewer is one of them, but it is not the deciding factor. There are many, many others.
But with the lot that is then going to take, the owners of the lot that will then take advantage of this modified bylaw, will there be standards for determining whether or not the construction of a new building can occur there? Are there minimum sizes for these ancillary or secondary lots? I just heard the word grandfathering, and I'm thinking like this is a 5,100-foot lot that wants to build, but they don't have frontage So they're landlocked, and they got no place to
As-
put a septic system.
Joe, this is to protect, this is for existing lots with buildings on it. And if someone wants to put an ADU on, they only can have one connection.
Can you build an ADU on a lot that has nothing on it, and it's a separate owner?
No,
Okay, well,
no, that's what the building department just said.
yeah, I didn't, that's kind of the point I was getting at. Thank you.
Okay. This is a majority vote. I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of Article 32, please raise your hand. All opposed? Passes. We're at 10:26. I'm not going to take up another article at this point. Appreciate all of you being here this evening and look forward to seeing you tomorrow.